Hello and welcome to the Con Couple. I'm Richard,
I'm exhausted.
and we go to a frankly baffling number of cons every year.
I want a new mattress.
I know. Yes, we are now officially moved into our new house, in case anybody's
Yay!
curious. But the mattress that got left for us by the previous owner is a little bit on the hard side for your preferences.
And I don't know if any of you have attempted to buy a new mattress. It sucks. Like, I went to a mattress store and they were like, we know mattress buying sucks. And then I thought that was going to be so, like, we'll leave you alone to shop for yourself and not be sold a mattress to. No, it just meant they have some stupid test to give you to, like, convince you to buy a more expensive mattress. I hate mattress shopping. I hate salespeople.
Yeah, you do not like feeling like you're being pressured into something.
Well, it's just like I don't actually want help with the purchasing part of most major purchasing decisions. And even if I did, I don't want somebody who's earning a commission off helping me to be the person helping me. That's counterintuitive.
Fair.
That is my rant about salespeople.
Mm-hmm. Anywho, where were we this week? Or
Tekko.
where are we this week? Because this is another one we're recording in multiple bits.
Yes, so we're recording this in multiple bits.
Bits.
That was an interesting Freudian slip.
Yep.
It doesn't count as cursing, I misspoke. Because we're driving back and forth to this one, and we're trying to avoid what we did with Anthrocon, since this takes place in the same city at the same convention center, and having to do a separate trip by recording it in bits because we're driving back and forth because we don't want to risk another Airbnb with no air conditioning. Well,
yep.
In reality, we mostly just want to
save a little bit of money.
Yep.
Again, we've only been in this house for less than a week now, so we don't really want to be leaving the pets with our pet sitter over the weekend until they're a little more comfortable with it.
So, 5 days from now.
Yeah, for Gen Con.
Yep.
That one we don't really have a choice about.
Yeah, we planned that before we even knew we were buying a house.
Yep.
And it's almost as expensive as buying a house, so...
Yeah, we'll have a lot of thoughts next week, but that's next week. So, anywho... Tekko, in case anybody's not aware, is a big anime convention in Pittsburgh?
Philadelphia.
Pittsburgh. Shut up. Don't confuse the audience. She just thinks it's funny to confuse me about where in the States we are.
You drove back and forth in the city multiple times.
Yeah, I know.
You literally just passed a sign that said International Pittsburgh Airport.
Yeah, but I'm also quite tired.
Yeah,
so,
well.
Anyway.
As a reminder, we record this in our car with hands-free lapel mics, key with all the laws in Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Ohio.
Yep. Technically, we're only in West Virginia for like 10 miles, but,
Still counts.
Still counts. But yeah, so Tekko itself is a fairly decent-sized anime convention. It's run by the same group that runs the Sangawa Project. Generally speaking, you can consider the Sangawa Project to be like their...
experimental weird stepsister, yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Tekko is their big event. Like this is where all the weird, all the big stuff happens. Including this is one of the first places we actually did Masquerade.
Yeah.
And it was a really good experience. So.
Yeah. Maybe we'll see part of it tomorrow. It is very long, so we'll see.
Yeah, it's like
and I'm also doing a panel right after.
Yeah. Yeah, you are paneling at this one.
I am.
So it's held in the David Lawrence Convention Center. We have spoken at length about the David Lawrence Convention Center. I maintain it's an aggressively fine convention center. Like it's decent size, it's very pretty, but holy Jesus, is it impractically laid out. But I will give Tekko credit for this. They actually have like various ways to get over the other side open. Whereas Anthrocon, for whatever reason, keeps those doors locked. I suspect that's safety reason stuff. Because there's like balconies overlooking stuff that you can walk along. And I suspect Anthrocon's attitude is, a lot of our guests are going to be in fursuits and don't have great visibility. We do not want anybody tripping and falling because that's going to be very, very bad.
Although they only have one entrance at the convention center open at Tekko.
This is true. So, yeah, it's not our favorite convention center. Like, it's a nice place. It's just, if you're trying to get somewhere in a hurry, it can be a bit on the uncooperative
It's very
side.
pretty.
Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. And it overlooks the river. Yeah, which is, it's very fun. It's very pretty. But,
so this is, I think, our third year going to Tekko.
third year going to Tekko, but our first time going to, so we did Tekko.
And then Animate and Tekko were opposite each other one year, weirdly, because they moved it to July for some weird reason one year.
Yep.
And Animate was closer, so we did that despite liking Tekko more.
Yep.
And then we went last year.
Yeah. Now we're going this year. So
yes.
Yeah, third year, but not consecutive years. And generally speaking, we do quite like Tekko.
Mm-hmm. Good vibes. Generally, like very sociable nerds, so it's very fun. The vibes are great. There's a lot of panels where we're recognized at this point.
Yep.
People remembered us from last year at this con and came up to say hi. That was very sweet.
It was.
So yeah, it's definitely generally fun and good vibes. It is, I think, unfortunately, a con this year that's in between a lot of big trips and in between a lot of movings. I don't really feel like we're giving it quite the attention and enthusiasm it deserves this year, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, I feel like our brains are a little shot this year.
Yeah.
And that's not the con's fault. Like, we want to highlight that.
Yeah. But Jokey Do, despite being a smaller con, was a bigger trip because we were doing that with Bridget and James.
Yep.
By the way, you should listen to that episode. That episode got no views because we didn't cross-post it anywhere. You misspelled the con name, and we posted it as an opposite time. We failed all the metrics on that one.
We did bad. Yeah. Sorry. I did not have an opportunity to, like, it's mostly just I forgot to take my laptop with me to work on Monday, and that's where I usually upload it. Yeah. Because the campus Wi-Fi is actually quite good when you're uploading stuff, so it does it very quickly. You know, we had like moving related stuff to do in the evening and blah. But yeah, so.
But we're officially moved now. We're not unpacked by a long shot.
Oh,
we are
God,
moved.
No. That's going to take a month.
At least.
But it says something that every homeowner I've ever talked to, when I say that like all our stuff is in boxes and it's going to be at least a month before we get it unpacked, half of them have said some variation of, yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm. And in all honesty, it'll probably be a couple of years before you actually unload the last box. Don't worry about it. But we would like to have our garage back at some point, so, you know. So, yeah. So, Tekko itself, again, big anime con. Do we have too much to say about it in the broad senses?
It's very pop culture. It's very broad. They follow a traditional anime model I like, which is there's a lot of panels. There's a lot of stuff going on all at once.
Yep.
To the point where they have stages in the hallway. I do know there was a little bit of controversy this year about them not accepting stuff, but I do legitimately think that they accepted everything that they could feasibly fit in the schedule.
Yeah, I think they just got a lot of submissions. Yeah. Like, they have 9 panel rooms. Mm-hmm. Most of them are going pretty constantly. And they also have, like, 2 RPG rooms, 2 LARP rooms. They've got their chibi room, which is the kids' room.
Yeah.
They've also got main events. Like, they are not lacking for panel space, and they are using it like a lot. So I think there were a lot of people whose panels got either waitlisted or rejected, and I don't think that's an indictment on the quality of the panels. I think that's just they got an insane number of submissions this year.
Yeah, and I don't know the process by going through it generally. Apparently I was a unicorn insofar as I was accepted. I do think they have some regular panel groups that they partner with, and I do think that they take up a significant amount of the panel slots. And it might be worth having the conversation with at least a couple of these groups, because some of them are putting on 4 or 5 panels to maybe tone it back a little bit, just to allow other groups in to perform panels.
Possibly.
But it is a hard trade-off, because if you've got a panel group you can rely on and you know produces a lot of panels, then it's nice to go with them again.
Yeah.
And there are some panel groups that I adore. There are others that I don't think are quite as good as some other ones, but again, I try to be pretty nice because, again, all volunteer.
Yep.
Tekko is an entirely volunteer-run con also, and they are one of the most open cons about their budget. With a spreadsheet panel we will definitely go to on Sunday, because as a con geek, I adore that panel.
Yeah, we will be going to the spreadsheet panel. But we will talk about the spreadsheet panel when we get to the spreadsheet panel.
Yes.
So yeah, so generally speaking, I like this con. Like, again, or I've liked it in past years. We'll talk about this year and etc. 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 That's not foreshadowing any like great horrific awfulness or anything.
Well, also we're not even done with the con yet. Yeah. It's only Friday.
Yeah, it's entirely possible that bad shenanigans could happen tomorrow.
Or really good shenanigans.
Oh, great shenanigans! Like, who knows? But again, I think mostly it's just we are definitely a little tired of this one.
Yep.
And we don't want to like have that negatively reflect on the con. It's gonna happen sometimes.
Yeah. Like, this con checks a lot of boxes for me in terms of what I want an anime con to be, and I feel bad that I can't enjoy it quite as much as I have previous years.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But I do still really, really love it. It's really, really fun. The people here, the vibes are great. The con energy is great. Like, it's most of what I want in a con. So
Yeah.
we'll see how my panel goes tomorrow. But,
Yep.
you know.
So, are we about ready to go chronological?
I think so.
Cool. So, before we go chronological, as per usual, we need to talk con ribbons. We do have a con ribbon. We will give that to you for any reason you choose. And we'll be handing a bunch of those out at your panel, I suspect. But we do also have the Super Special Secret Ultra ribbon, for which there is a secret code clue.
This week it's just going to be I found you at Gen Con. Because if you find us at Gen Con, I'm expletive at this point.
Yeah, that's fair. You can have the super special secret con ribbon.
Honestly, if you find us at all at Gen Con, you don't even have to tell us a code phrase. We're just going to give you the ribbon.
Valid.
Because, like, it's Gen Con.
Yep. Especially as we're not like super happy with our Gen Con schedule this year because we got screwed over by the randomization, but we'll figure it out.
I mean, Gen Con just continues to be worst Origins.
Yeah.
Like, it does have, like, if you want the bombasticness of more people, it's nice, but it's pretty much worse in every other way.
Yep. Yeah, like, if I could only go to one of them, that would not even be a difficult decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, let's not complain about Gen Con in the Tekko episode, let's talk about Tekko.
Yep.
So, Tekko. We went on Thursday, kind of late afternoonish, specifically because we wanted to get our badges. And we know that getting badges at this con, it can be a little bit problematic. So they opened badge pickup at what, midday?
Yeah.
On Thursday. We did not go at that time. We got there at, I want to say, 3:30, 4 o'clock, somewhere in that ballpark. Does that sound about right to you?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we went at badge pickup time last year, and you'll remember there was a bit of a slowdown, so we just didn't want to deal with that this year. Plus, there wasn't really any programming on until later in the day anyway.
Which I think was a deliberate decision, because last year, a bunch of panelists got snagged on the reg line and ended up turning up late for that, like, immediate start panels.
Yeah.
So I think they deliberately did not schedule anything until 2 hours after reg opened, which was probably a wise decision, because based on some comments I saw in the unofficial Tekko Facebook group, I do think there were some lines.
Yeah.
It took them a little while to get through.
Although I do want to point out, the unofficial Tekko Facebook group is the only group I've met that complains about as much as the Origins Facebook group does.
Yeah.
There's a lot of complaining in that chat.
There is. But yeah, so we turned up at about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and the process of getting our badges was very straightforward and easy. We got in what at that time was a very short line. Waited for all of what, like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like it was short enough that it wasn't even a problem with your disability stuff.
Like Tekko in general, like I think last year, because we got there with a bunch of other people who were waiting in line, the 88 people just kind of formed their own line that was, I think, kind of sort of just brought up in the Facebook group and then just kind of came about. There was no labeling for one this year. I do think if I had asked, I probably would have been provided some type of accommodation, but
I suspect so.
It was easy enough to just go through the line.
Yeah. But again, I suspect you would have had to ask for it. It's never great when you have to ask for that. Mm-hmm. Just a point. But the reg person was great. Like scanned the QR code, handed us our badges. Those badges are technically linked to us specifically because they scanned them.
Yep.
Neither of us bothered writing our names on them for this one.
Mm-hmm.
So we probably got mixed up whose badge was whose, but it doesn't.
Well, we don't have pens either. Like some registrations will provide you pens and stuff. They might have somewhere in the room, but it wasn't immediately obvious.
They had some. We just didn't. They had some in front of the person who checked us in. We just.
I don't tend to like to generally one, my handwriting's hard to read to begin with. Two, it tends to smear on the badge. Sometimes it can get on your clothes. I generally don't tend to like putting my name on my badge. I do get that it's useful if you lose your badge. But I don't know how useful it would be. So
I think that's part of the reason that they link the specific badge to you now. It's worth noting that this con uses Aventini.
Yep.
Aventini continues to suck.
It does. It's, I think, the only game that's within their price range because I remember them talking about it before.
Yeah.
And they also discussed last year having a physical schedule, which they still don't have. I do get that it's a little difficult given the amount of events that they have on, but Colossal Con manages to do it, and they have about the same number of events. So,
Yeah.
especially if you don't put things like the photo shoots on there, because you don't really need to put those on there.
Yeah. Again, if you basically just have it be, panel rooms, no descriptions, nothing fancy, you can get it all onto like a sheet of A3 paper, especially if you double-sided, and that ends up being significantly better than nothing, is the best way to describe it. Like, is it perfect? No. Does it fix a lot of the problems of Eventini? Yes. Because then you can actually go to the Eventini like app or the thing on the Tekko website that links to Eventini to look at the actual panel descriptions if you need to. But again, that's a personal thing. We just very much like physical programs and physical schedules and all of that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, so walked into the venue through the through the entrance section, and noticed immediately another massive line. Specifically, this was the line for the flea market. Because Tekko's flea market is very popular. I believe you do actually need to sign up in advance to have a table for it.
You do. I don't think the tables are like assigned. I think you just get in there and grab what you get. I think the table fee is about $20 for the flea market because they want to keep it fairly cheap and for you to make back money.
Yeah. I think they might actually be assigned because they did mention assigning some people floor space this year, which I did spot.
I guess that's fair. In the Facebook group, you mean?
I can't remember where it was, but there was definitely something somewhere that I saw about the assigning people floor space.
That's fair. And they also have two of these. There's one on Sunday and one on Thursday. I think you definitely don't need to be in both because I know Bridget and James are doing the Sunday one. And I think for either of them, they probably recommend that you're only in one just because there is a kind of premium on them. And it's basically what it sounds like. We'll talk more about it in a second. But, it's people selling their old garage anime stuff. So.
Yep. Yeah. So we kind of walked past that massive line. We went with our low-key costumes.
Yep.
So it was Hades and Persephone, which, again, it's our low-key ball gown. Insofar as we've worn Hades and Persephone so many times at so many events at this point that we can get into that sucker in 15 minutes if we need to. Like, makeup done, hair ready, like, if I knew where they were at the moment, I could have done my contact lenses. But I know I haven't worn them for quite a while, and I probably should. I feel bad.
That's fair. I think it's just a lot of the moving, generally.
Yeah. But yeah, so what was the first thing we were going to? So I remember there was a specific panel we wanted to get to.
I'll pull it up. I also want to say that I think your contacts are just kind of the first piece of cosplay you really loved. Like, similar to how my dress was the first piece of cosplay I really loved.
Yep.
Because my Persephone dress was the cosplay that made me get the love of cosplay. And I think your contacts were that for you. Like, you really just loved those contacts.
Yeah, I still do. Like, I do love doing weird stuff to my eyes. But part of the problem is just contact lenses are something that I do need to plan to do. Like, it's not something I can easily kind of like throw on because I need to take out. My eyesight kind of sucks. In case anybody cares, I'm a negative 4.25 in each eye. Which does mean that anytime I'm wearing contact lenses, I am wearing them as functionally a medical assistance device. Like that is their function, and I can't see a damn thing without them. Which means that in order to put in my fun contact lenses, I have to take out my regular contact lenses and make sure I put them away properly and blah-de-blah-de-blue. And it's an extra step, and a lot of the time I don't have the brain power for it, which I feel bad about.
We were running late this morning, whether that was yesterday. It's fine. I'm tired. Anyway.
Yeah.
The first thing we wanted to go to was technically correct with Fusion Games. We're a very interesting gaming group.
Yes. So Fusion Games is one of the organizations that's running several panels at this con. I think they're doing about 4 or 5 different game shows across the weekend.
Yeah, they're definitely more Pennsylvania than Ohio. I know they do other Pennsylvania-esque cons that are a little bit further away that we don't tend to go to as much.
Yeah, so I think this is the only event we tend to see them. And they do a couple of things that are like kind of cute ideas. So they give out what they call experience points on their various panels. So if you participate in a panel and you do well or you win, you will get a certain number of experience points, which are basically just little cards with 1 XP written on it. And you'll get several of them. And then you can trade those in for prizes. But that does mean that they keep those as an ongoing thing. So if you go to several different events with them and you just hang on to those little cards with your experience points, you can trade them in later for a big prize, which I do actually kind of like as a concept.
Yeah. It encourages you to go to their panels. Generally, it's a pretty easy way, and it allows you to basically give like low-key prizes for the people who don't really care either. We earned some XP last year. We have no idea where it is. It does not help that we just moved.
Yeah, I've got a dodgy feeling I threw it out when we moved.
It's fine. I don't really care that much.
Yeah. You mean because they don't have any plush in there?
Pretty much. If they had plush, I would have made you,
Yeah.
This is the thing, is plush. They do have sometimes some anime figure plush, but I don't like that as much.
Yeah.
I don't have enough plush.
Well, we do now have space to put the plush, or at least we will once I finish setting up that room. Like half the house at the moment is under the heading of once we finish setting up that room.
Yep.
But hey, we got rid of the air hockey table.
We did.
Thanks to my boss's boss for that one. Okay, it's going to a church youth group. I'm quite happy with that. So, yeah. What was the... Yeah, so the particular way this trivia game works is they would give you a description of, I believe, were they all Pokemon themed or were they... No, they're all anime themed. So they would give you like a plot description of the anime, but in a way that was not like... It was technically correct, hence the name of the game show, but not necessarily massively helpful in describing it.
Yeah, so like for Yu-Gi-Oh, for instance, I remember this one just because it was Yu-Gi-Oh. It was just like, in this world, playing a children's card game is more important than school. Like, and that one was fairly easy. Everyone in the room got it, but they had some harder ones. They did try to pick, I think, we've always talked about this, particularly with anime trivia, it is a little bit hard to pitch it correctly because anime is, again, a pulp genre, which means that like there's a lot of anime not everyone's seen, so it's very hard to calibrate a game correctly. This seemed to be calibrated pretty close to correctly in terms of like making the questions hard but not too hard,
Yeah. Like there was a reasonable number that even I could guess.
Yep.
Like I probably got maybe 30% of them.
That's about what I got, I think.
Yeah. And we're not exactly like, we don't watch a lot of anime, we don't know a lot of anime. But, people seem to have, the players seem to have fun. The way they do their selection is if you're interested in playing, they will give you a card with a number on it, and then they use a random number generator. Fairly simple, fairly efficient, seems to work. No real criticism or complaints about that as a process. And so there were several different rounds for this one. So, for example, one of the rounds, they had 2 different clues. The first of which was incredibly vague, and the second of which was a little bit more specific. And if you got it based on only the first clue, you got 2 points. And if you got it after getting the second clue as well, you got 1 point. So, again, and they had a little bit of audience participation as far as if the panelists couldn't get it, or the people who'd been selected to play couldn't get it, then people from the audience could volunteer with the correct answer, and if they got the correct answer, they'd get an XP. And the panelists, I think, got like 4-3-2, memory serves, depending on where they were in the ranking. So, again, fun little game show. I freely admit, and this is going to sound a teensy bit mean.
Okay.
I'm not a massive fan of the host's style.
I would agree. I was kind of hoping you would bring that up so I didn't have to, because it did come up later today also, where the host is...
The host has a little bit of an attitude that, for whatever reason, rubs me the wrong way a little bit.
Yeah.
It's not like... They have a certain attitude of, if you don't think you'll be great at the game, you shouldn't volunteer to play it. which at a convention I think is kind of the wrong attitude to have. And they they can also be a mite condescending on occasion.
A little bit condescending, a little bit frustrated when people don't get the stuff immediately. Generally, one person kept answering in the form of the question, and the host was making fun of them for it, which is fine. That's funny.
Yeah.
But it didn't seem always good natured when he was doing it. He seemed actively upset that they were answering in the form of a question, which was just weird. You can definitely make that funny. But he seemed almost annoyed by it, even though it's not really something that you should get annoyed about. It's just a way that people answer questions because that's how they answer them in Jeopardy. So,
again, pointing out that that's not a thing you have to do is fine, but he did seem to get a little irritated by it.
Yeah. And he also almost seems surprised sometimes when people are doing well at the games or get the games, where there's oh, I wasn't expecting people to be able to do well or understand this. And it's you do. If you're a game show host, you do have to be kind of patient with people. I will say I do find a lot of the people who do game shows fairly frequently do seem to get a little bit impatient with the contestants. Sometimes it's one of my criticisms, at least some of the game show panels. I'm not talking about everyone, but I am talking about a few people who I've seen do game shows on the regular.
Yeah.
They just seem to get a little bit impatient when people don't play the games the way they want or are still learning how to play. And as someone who works in education, I do recognize this is kind of a hard thing to do, is when people are learning stuff for the first time. If you understand how it's done already, it can be a little frustrating that it's taking them a while to get it because you've forgotten how long it took you to get it. But it's still something to be kind of patient with people generally. And some snarky stuff was said to me later that felt gendered and not okay. So
yeah, again, we'll talk about that when we get to the specific panel that occurred in. But yeah, so yeah, they're not a bad host in any way.
They're not a bad host, and I do think the games are very well designed.
Yes, it's mostly on occasion it feels like they have made some of the things to kind of show off how smart they are, not because they actually want people to have fun playing. And I don't know if I'm over analyzing and reading too much into that.
I felt a little bit hurt during the one I participated in, and you should never make your contestants feel hurt.
Yeah.
Just rule 101. If you want people to continue to get on the stage, and you need to make them feel comfortable there.
Yeah.
Most other hosts, when they're doing Wheel of Fortune or something like that, and the contestant's not getting it, and the entire audience says something along those lines, but I try to sell it to my teammates. It's always harder when you're up here, and there's always going to be those moments where it's Wheel of Fortune, and everyone knows the answer but you. It happens to everyone.
Yep. Again, every game show ever is harder for the contestants than it is playing at home. So yeah. Again, not a major criticism, just something that bothered us both.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but again, that game show I thought was pretty solid, pretty fun. Yeah. Again, pitched at about the right level. So what did we do after that? Because we didn't do a massive amount on Thursday.
No, Thursday was kind of a half day. We did the swap meet briefly.
Yeah. So yeah, so we...
Or the flea market, sorry.
Yeah, so we toddled down, have a wander around the flea market. And again, the setup of this is pretty straightforward. It's a bunch of different tables. You wander around. We deliberately went after the scrum, so there was probably a lot less available, but there was also far fewer people in there fighting. And again, given that you were in a ball gown, we just didn't want to deal with the crowd.
And I will say, pricing at these obviously varies. Some people were giving away stuff for $5. Some people were selling used plushies for $20, which
25.
Yep.
Was the one we were potentially looking at.
Yeah.
We couldn't really justify that at the moment.
Not for something used. I will say, Squishables, or that brand in general, that person was not the only table selling Squishables for that amount. I suspect I suspect the ones that were more reasonably priced were probably taken earlier, just because that is a fairly sought-after brand of plushie. But I saw several tables selling them for $25 or more, which is not really that much less than what you would pay in a store. Not really what I would pay. That said, people are allowed to charge. My philosophy is somebody who shops a lot and does a lot of online shopping and secondhand sales. People are allowed to charge what they want. Just keep in mind somebody might not buy it. Yep. But you can charge whatever you want.
That's perfectly fair and normal. And we don't judge on that front. So, welcome to West Virginia, by the way. So, what was the next panel that we actually did? So I'm sure we did at least one more
Do
panel.
you have anything else you want to say about the swap meet?
For the most part, I think it was pretty efficiently laid out. As I said, I did notice that there were some people who had their stuff kind of just laid out on the floor.
Yeah.
And I think that was just, they got way more applications than they could fill, and they were trying to, fill as many people as they could.
We also saw the escape rooms that were over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are doing some escape roomy stuff, and they were actually physically building escape rooms, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
We don't like escape rooms, but that seems like a pretty cool one if you did.
Yeah, if it's your thing, great, enjoy them. They're just not our thing, and that's okay.
We also toured the gaming space briefly. It was set up similar to last year.
Yep. So the setup there is actually, they use one of the main halls for it, and I think it's actually it's a big space for it. So they've got like a bunch of tables set up, a bunch of arcade machines, an entire section that's devoted to like Pokemon-y stuff, including they do a full-on like gym leader challenge thing. I'm not 100% sure how it works because we never taken the time to figure that out. But I know it's largely aimed at kids, but I think they have a good time with it.
Yeah, I mean, I do know that they have different ability levels for like people who are different. And I've seen some kids that are really into Pokemon, so I think it's popular with them.
Yeah. They also have a section of the floor sectioned off for VR stuff, so that if you're wearing a VR thing, you're not going to bump into anybody else. Which that's just a good decision all round.
It's very funny to kind of just watch people play VR.
Yeah.
Because everyone looks ridiculous playing it in an outside audience. It's not a criticism. If you enjoy it, great. But it is kind of amusing to watch people make very weird poses. So.
Well, again, the classic thing is always just I remember when VR was the future of all video gaming, and it kind of hasn't become that for one simple reason.
Motion sickness?
Actually, I was going to say, a couple of reasons. One, enough space. Mm-hmm. Two, expensive equipment. And yes, three, motion sickness.
That's the reason I can't do it. I can't even play Second Life anymore. I tried to log in a while ago, and I can't play it on my laptop because it makes me too motion sick now.
Interesting.
It's fine. I played it illegally because I was underage at the time. It's fun to admit that now, I think.
I mean, it would have been what, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Longer than that? Yeah.
Well, it's you had to be over 18, but it was the internet and we were kids and lied a lot. You did it too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, what's the old comment? Those verify your age boxes where where you had to enter your birthday, and all it did was teach kids how to do the basic maths of subtracting 18 from the current year.
Well, it's they had a teen grid, but to enter the teen grid, you had to at that point, I think fax, even though no one was using fax machines even then, your parents' signature for permission to play on the teen grid.
Wow.
And verify your age. And it was just no one was going to do that. It was just way easier to cheat the system than actually follow the rules. The thing is, if you had just made a teen grid and just not had there be requirements to be on it, you probably actually would have kept more teens off the server way better than actually making it. Anyway.
Again, I never played Second Life, so
they're a Danish-owned company, and I think they, what the UK is trying to do now, had very weird laws around children being on the internet at the time. So.
Yeah. The laws are always weird and frequently really dumb. But yeah. So we kind of explored, had a look around, got our con legs, and again, I do want to point out there are 9 panel rooms at this convention. They are crammed in everywhere. Yep. Including panel 9, which is in a slightly weird place relative to the others. But
it's on the other side next to the meetup rooms and the chibi room and the LARP rooms.
Yeah.
Also, whoever's running their LARPs this weekend, I don't think we're going to have time to play any, but they're real interesting.
They're interesting. They're weird.
Yeah.
But, including one where you are participating in a chess tournament and attempting to cheat using the power of vibrations. And if you know what specific news story that's referencing, good on you. You frequent the interesting parts of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Side note, there is absolutely zero evidence that accusation was true.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. It's during an open time slot for us, so.
We'll think about it.
Okay.
So yeah. So, what was the next thing?
The next thing was Mad Libs.
Ah, yes. Mad Libbing a fanfic we just wrote.
Yeah, I will say Mad Libs and Rate Your Waifu are kind of our bread and butter panels at Tekko and Sengawa Project. Like,
Yeah.
we've done these both a bunch, and they're
We adore them.
always a good time.
Yeah. Like, they're well put together, they're well run, the people doing them know what they're doing and do them very, very well. So, the principle of Mad Libbing a fanfic we just wrote is exactly what it sounds like. They have written a fanfic. They've stripped out like a bunch of various, like adjectives, nouns, names, all of that kind of stuff. And then the way they basically do it is at the beginning of the panel, everybody is handed a note card and a pen or pencil, and then they give you a list of 16 numbers. I think is it always 16, or does it vary?
I think like I have seen them do it where like you do the same thing multiple times. Where like I think the first time they did it, they had it where it was like noun, and you just did each one once, and then that was too hard, so they just put one for each one and then just put them back in the spots, which is way smoother. But I do think it varies just depending on what the script calls for.
Yeah. So what I meant was, I think like the amount of words you need to write on your note card is usually about 16.
Yeah.
So like a name, a fandom, a noun, an adjective, a song title, etc., 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 a food, a style, a way to get revenge on someone. That was an interesting one for this one. And then basically, as you then turn in your note card, and then as they go through the panel, they they will the program they have will basically bring up a list of here's what it needs for the next section. They pull one note card at a time. They type in the one word or the short phrase for that section. Then they repeat with the next note card and the next thing. So generally speaking, they've got enough things that everybody in the audience ends up contributing to the fanfic. And again, like the if your card gets pulled early for the name, like your name, the name that you submit is probably going to turn up a lot.
Yeah, so sometimes you get like to impact the plot a lot. Sometimes you just get kind of one joke, but it works. It's random and it's fun.
It is. It's very, very fun. It's very, very silly. Like the first time we did this, I put Beowulf as a name, and Beowulf ended up being...
that was Beowulf Will Smith, wasn't it?
That was Beowulf / Will Smith from Independence Day. Okay. Very specifically, the full name that got used a lot in that fic was Will Smith from Independence Day.
One of my favorite characters that turned up in this one was, like, so they put a thing about, like, how you could have any under 18 characters on there, and I think somebody was in the middle of writing Timmy Turner and then heard that and wrote Timmy Turner's dad.
Hey, in the show, he does not have a name.
Yep.
He's just Mr. Turner or Timmy Turner's dad. Mm-hmm. So Timmy Turner's dad was in this, as was Optimus Prime. Mm-hmm. And various other...
anime people we can't pronounce or don't know.
Yeah.
It was funny.
Reze from Chainsaw Man, I think. Like, again. Or some... again. This panel is just an absolute hoot. Mm-hmm. At least in part because they know what it is. They also have the sense to, like... Every so often they'll pull a card, look at the word on it, and go... I don't think that's going to work for whatever reason. But they'll hang on to the card and reuse the card on the next thing if that'll work.
They also said if you just have one joke you really want to put in there or something like that, you can only fill out the ones that you think you have good jokes for whatever reason, or a good word for. Like some people just like really want to do one specific thing. So some people like only put a food, just so they could have that one food in there. Lettuce from Taco Bell was referenced a lot because of that news story that's going on right now. So also.
Yeah, I think one of the foods that made it in was soggy brown lettuce.
Yep. Also, I did like for this panel, just because most of them were normal, this one had a specific one that was ways to get revenge on somebody. So they read everyone's ways to get revenge at the end of the panel, which was very fun.
Well, as they said, like they'd just been kind of reading them as they went, and a bunch of them were kind of creative and funny. Mm-hmm. A couple of them were really screwed up.
Yep. So yours was Taco Bell lettuce.
Yep.
I panicked because they were calling for cards and was like, I'm just going to write donating blood. Saving a life is always a great way to get revenge. Somebody wrote live a happy life.
Mm-hmm. And there was stuff like steal their dog.
Yep.
That's a bit dark.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so again, this panel is a lot of fun. And if you're curious, the fanfiction is available to read online.
Yes.
AO3, their user account is the Fan Chicks, and you can absolutely just go and read that fanfiction.
I'm tempted to read some of the ones from the times we weren't there. And keep in mind, like, this person wrote this entire thing to make it a Mad Lib, basically.
Yep.
Like, it takes effort to do, and they do a really good job of, like, the story's already funny, obviously.
Yep.
But they, like, make it even more funny by, like, knowing where the words to be added in would be fun. Like, it works very well.
Like, I adore the fact that in this one, there was a group in it that they'd named the Girly Pops.
Yep.
That was just part of the fan fiction. That wasn't a thing that was added. Yet, literally no female characters. Just because everybody kept writing boy characters. So there were a group called the Girly Pops that had, like, Optimus Prime, Timmy Turner's dad, and who else was in it? I forget. But,
Dennis, whoever.
Dennis Reynolds?
Yeah, I think it was it.
Whoever that is.
Yep.
It's not a reference I get.
So yeah, they were all there. And then the one character that was there got killed in a revenge plot.
Yeah, there were exactly 2 female characters mentioned, one of whom, like, knocked over an hors d'oeuvre tray the previous year
and wasn't invited back.
And was presumably not invited back because they weren't mentioned anywhere else in the plot. And the other one was a character who literally got murdered.
Yep.
So, like, good job, you fridged one of the only 2 female characters. This one does not pass the Bechdel test.
That was my joke.
It was your joke, which I then shouted out for you to make sure I got added to the tags.
Yeah.
So, yeah. This panel is a blast, and I love it to bits. Like,
it's always fun.
Yeah. They also do a good job, because Tekko is a largely family-friendly con, the version they do here is PG-13.
Yep.
The version they do at Sangawa, that's just R-rated. And occasionally X-rated.
Yeah. And I still do maintain what Stripper Bash says. Like, there's definitely fun to plus 18 humor, but I do think that non-plus 18 humor is more difficult in pulling it off. It has its own delights to find jokes that aren't, like, sexual in nature and have them be funny.
Oh, yeah.
Which we had plenty of here, so.
Yeah.
The sex jokes are always fun, but there are other types of jokes. And if you are plus 18, you stick with the sex jokes more.
They're lower hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So, yeah, again, I adore this panel. This panel is always a great time, and I'm already looking forward to doing it again at Sangawa. Assuming we go back to Sangawa this year. We'll see. So, yeah. At that point, I believe we got on the car and headed home.
Yep.
Because, again, we are basically driving 4 hours a day for this con.
Yeah, which is not ideal. I don't know if we come back next year if we will do that again, but it just, with how the timing worked out this year, there really wasn't another optic on this one, and I didn't want to leave the pets with all the stuff that's going on.
Yeah, because
I already feel guilty leaving them for fucking Gen Con.
Yeah.
That's a 1F-bomb. I don't care.
Yeah, that's valid. But again, like, given that we were away last weekend, we're doing Tekko this weekend. We're away next week for Gen Con, and then the week after we're doing Key City, which is when we have to drive to, because that's like a 7-hour drive. Or it's 5 and change, isn't it? But like, I did not want to be leaving the pets for 4 weekends on the trot. So yeah, especially not given the again, new house. So yeah, so at that point, got on the road, headed home, and then went the heck to sleep, and then got up this morning, and for whatever reason, we were both kind of out of it this morning. It might just be because we've not been sleeping great, because again, new beds that are definitely harder than we prefer. So we're a little bit on the tired side.
And we're adjusting to living in a new house, so.
Yeah. Which I do really like our new house, but again, it is a change and an adjustment and all that kind of jazz. So yeah. So we got up, got on the road, and our goal was to make it to an 11 o'clock panel. And, Sat-Nav basically said we should be there by about 10:45, which I figured would be fine. We got held up a little bit getting through the tunnel towards Pittsburgh,
Yeah.
which kind of like stressed us out a bit. But we were like, oh, it's okay. We'll park in the parking lot that's attached to the convention center, and we'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah, that sucker was full.
Yeah, we did get here later than we normally get here, or think have ever gotten here for either Anthrocon or Tekko, but that's the only time I've seen it full. Weirdly, the only other time I've seen it full is when we went to that weird Oddities Festival that I think we did on the podcast at Tekko, because they had like 6 other events on.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it's a bit weird that lot's attached to a major convention center and only holds 700 cars, according to the Tekko website. Like, that seems like it should hold more.
Yeah.
I do know a lot of people in Pittsburgh don't tend to park there. Like, I know for a while everyone parks in the Greyhound lot, because I think it's $5 a day, and then just walks over, because I think people in Pittsburgh are more about just kind of walking where they want to go, which valid.
Mm-hmm.
But I think they might have changed their rates to get more expensive, so.
Yeah. So we parked up kind of across the street, outdoor lot. Like, it's not bad. It's actually the same price, but it's slightly further, which means we were definitely stressing a little bit about getting to the panel we wanted to do. And then we noticed something really annoying. The panel location wasn't on the con schedule. So we ended up having to go to ConOps to ask them where the panel was.
Yep.
It turns out it was in Event 9, which we'd kind of effectively overshot.
Yeah, because it's on the other side of the convention center.
Yeah.
Like, it is easier to loop around because they have the back corridor open, but we were still technically a couple minutes late.
Yeah, but we were still able to get decent seats.
I do wonder how anyone else found it, because it didn't have a name. I don't know if people just wandered into it generally, or if they also asked, or what.
Yeah. Well, this was a panel that we also did at Sangawa.
Yeah.
And
so when you came in, did they seem surprised? Did they already know? Did it seem like when you asked the question at ConOps?
they were not aware that the location wasn't listed on the schedule.
Okay, so maybe people just found it randomly, or by ducking into rooms, which is kind of what I was doing while you were asking ConOps.
Yep. But yeah. So this particular panel was the video game ranking tier list panel. This panel is very stupid and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
So again, we did this one at Sangawa. Same host. The basic principle of this is you start off with a list of the 10 best video games of all time, which I believe is taken from like Metacritic or whatever. Like, it's taken from somewhere, but that's about as official as it gets in this regard. And you then have, you then take turns, and it's basically just everybody queues up behind the microphone. And on your turn, you can do one of several actions. You can add a game to the list, but if you do that, there are only 10 spots on the list, so whatever in spot 10 gets kicked off the bottom. And you can add it any way you like at position 4 or below. You can promote a game, so you can choose to take a game that's lower on the list and move it up. And you can, again, move it up as far as you like. You can swap 2 games. That's exactly what it sounds like. You can lock something, which basically means nobody else can change it. Or you can unlock something. So again, you are spending your entire turn to make a thing changeable again. And then there are other rules that kind of turn up as things occur.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, the new rule we added from Sangawa about changing the fonts was unlocked, so...
Yep. The Comic Sans rule.
Yep.
There's also a special extra secret hidden rule, which is, if 5 or more things get locked, then all of those locks go away.
Yep.
Because
you can't move enough stuff on the board, and you have to take 5 turns to lock it.
Yeah.
And I will say, in terms of game design, this is a very well-designed game. It gives you enough to do. It does typically start with people just adding stuff to the board, but I do find around the halfway mark, people switch to, like, locking and switching stuff more often.
Yeah, I just kind of screwing with other people.
Yeah. Like, I created a 5-person chain at Sangawa Project to get Mass Effect off the board, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, deliberately to screw me over, yes. Because I was the one who put the Mass Effect Legendary Edition on the board.
Mm-hmm. Me and my person teamed up to try to stave Stardew Valley, which didn't wind up happening. We fought really hard.
Mm-hmm. And again, at this one, it was a little harder to get those combos going just because it was a larger group, so it was a longer line. Because the standard rule is once you have made your one request, if you want to make another one, absolutely fine. Just go to the back of the line.
Yeah. In this room with my ball gun and ADA stuff, I couldn't really get in line, but you said the people in line were cool with you basically holding just a spot for me for where you were.
Yeah, they were okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
And This panel is just pure shenanigans because there comes a point where people are just adding joke things to the list.
Well, I start by doing that. Everyone else starts out serious. I'm like, I think I put the panel itself on the list.
You did. The first thing you said was, because you were, I think, the second person.
Yep.
You opened with something along the lines of, I argue that any video game is a game that is played on a computer, and since we're using a computer for this, I would like to submit this panel.
Folks was like, God damn it.
Yes, that was his response.
Yep.
But he did add it in the number 4 spot.
And then I put like the world's best dating simulator. And
Simulator.
I make Simulator, which is Tinder, obviously.
Yep. It almost lets you simulate a real relationship.
Yeah, almost.
Almost. Like, it will leave you emotionally unsatisfied, but, you know.
Tinder stayed up there for like half the game.
Yeah, Tinder stayed up there for quite a while. Somebody locked Tinder, didn't they?
You locked Tinder.
Oh, yeah, I locked Tinder.
Because I made you.
Yeah.
Also, somebody locked E.T., the Atari game.
Yeah.
And that was number 2 on the list.
Yep. And somebody suggested like a wolf-themed game that's very popular with furries, at which point you and I just kind of locked in and decided we were like keeping that on the board no matter what.
Yeah, people were defending that one, so.
Yep. We got it up to number 1 and it goddamn stayed there.
Yep.
So yeah, like this panel is very, very silly. It's very, very fun. Like my only criticism, and this is pretty vague, is because he uses Google Sheets for it. You know, there's a certain amount of like every time a thing changes, it takes a moment to like work through. Like in a perfect world, I would love you to just have some custom software for this, but I get it because this would honestly just be really fun to play at a bunch of different cons. Like, Christ, can you imagine doing this at a board game convention and just doing, like, different TT... You know, this is the TTRPG rating list.
Oh, God. That would be fast.
And D&D just immediately getting kicked off.
Yep. I'd be tempted to do that at Catacon, honestly, if I could just find a room slot for it, like an addition to stuff. Like, it's a panel and not a game, but, you know.
I mean, it's a game.
Yeah, Mike let me. I'd probably do it in the evenings or something like this. And it would take, like, him and I think anyone else who's doing this... The first couple ones are a little bit rougher because it takes you a minute to put them into the spreadsheet correctly and stuff like that. But once you get your rhythm down, it's pretty easy. So. Yeah. I'm just trying to think of what our starting top 10 RPGs would be.
I mean, D&D obviously has to have the number 1 spot. Yeah. Pathfinder's probably up there, etc., etc. Like, there would be plenty you could add, and then after that it would get weird. Yep. Because everybody has their own favorite, and their own favorite is weird. One of the rules is explicitly, if a thing gets kicked off the list, you're not allowed to put it back on. Yep. And that includes, like, if a thing gets kicked off the list, you're not allowed to put it back on under the heading, like, Resident Evil 4 got kicked off the list, so Resident Evil 4 remake. Nope. Remakes, remasters, once it's off the list, it's off the list. Which is why when Mass Effect Legendary Edition got kicked off, the only option left to me at that point was Andromeda, and I was like, no. Like, I don't hate Mass Effect Andromeda, but it's not as good.
Anyway, let's move on.
Yeah. Side note, if you really adore Mass Effect as much as I do, I am currently attempting to put together a group for a Mass Effect TTRPG. You would have to pay me money, but it's a thing I'm doing. So, anyway.
Bought a new house, we need money.
Yeah, we need money. It's not expensive, but, you know, money. Anyway. If you're interested, comment section, email, you know, concouplepodcast@gmail.com, etc., etc., etc. I'll send you information. Anyway.
Also, subscribe to our OnlyFans.
We do. When did you start that?
It's an audio-only OnlyFans. We've kind of already done that.
So anyway. I mean, let's be honest, some voices are getting scraped for AI as much as OnlyFans is, so, you know.
Yeah, I wish I had said my F-bomb for AI.
Yep, screw AI. But anyway, so this was I adore this panel. This was a good panel to start with. And then we kind of had to hoof it out of that one in order to make it over to a 12 o'clock panel.
Like, this is the thing about Tekko, it's like, they do so much programming, there's already things today I'm sad I've missed. Like, a lot of things that I'm sad I've missed, just because they do so much programming, and so much good stuff is opposite each other.
And it's worth noting that they do typically have a half-hour break in each room. But that, you know, but if something's in a different room, they might still have to hoof it across the convention center. So that's what we did, and this was the Pokemon game show.
Yes, it was Pokemon Taboo. I'll look at the exact title.
Yeah. So this was basically themed around teams of 4, and you were basically you were trying to describe a Pokemon such that the other members of your team could get it. And I did like the theming on this, as far as it was themed around the 8 original gyms and the Elite Four. So the first one were all rock type Pokemon, because Rock's gym. The second set were all water type Pokemon, because Misty, etc., etc., etc. You know, again, like there was a lot of thought put into this one, and this was by Fusion Games as well, I should mention. And like you and I both ended up playing this one just randomly. Because random number generator, and we ended up on the same team, which is nice. But again, the game design itself was very, very good, because the other team could the other team got to see which Pokemon it was and could then choose some words that your team wasn't allowed to say.
Yeah, it was basically like Taboo the game, except you came up with your own taboo words a lot of the time, and they couldn't be definite articles. They had a lot of rules that people had tried to clearly get around at some point. So I did appreciate the game design generally. You also couldn't say the names of other Pokemon, so
yeah, because you can't just say if the Pokemon is Venusaur, you can't say last evolution of Bulbasaur. Like that's too easy.
Yeah. So they had stuff like that. You couldn't, I think, say... There were a couple other rules about what you couldn't say. They were pretty basic stuff. You also had a limited number of guesses, so you couldn't just... Because all of them were like Pokemon of a certain type, so it would be lame if you just shouted out all the Pokemon of that type you could think of and just get it accidentally. So...
I mean, if you could name every single water Pokemon, that'd be impressive.
A couple people in that room could, so...
Probably.
Like, we're casual Pokemon fans.
Yeah. Hey, you got a couple of pretty... obscure ones. Again, my knowledge kind of taps out around the end of Gen 1, and I sort of remember Gen 2. That's as far as I go.
Yeah, between me and this other person who I think actually legitimately did every Pokemon, I think we got about 90% of the answers. Although this was when the host was being kind of mean to me for no reasons. Where I kept giving the same clue. And he's like, say other words, and I'm like, I don't want to. And then I said one of the taboo words because they were making me getting annoyed with me for not saying more words when I thought you were pretty close to getting it. I do think you would have gotten it in the glasses if I just keep saying meow instead of cat, but they kept being say more words.
Yep.
And then I was trying to the person who I think was the best at the game in terms of knowledge of Pokemon was the one who was clue giving to the rest of us who didn't know all the Pokemon, and I was like, it's okay, you don't we might not know it, that's fine. I was trying to make them feel better about how good their clues were, and the guy was like, that's why I only ask people who know a lot about Pokemon to play. And it's just dude, I've already gotten multiple answers, and I got more after that. What more do you want?
Yeah.
And it did seem very pointed at me in a way that felt a little bit gendered. I don't know if you got that vibe.
A little bit. Again, it's one of those I can never tell if I'm imagining it or not.
It was definitely rude, I want to be clear.
Yeah, it did feel like kind of a dick move.
Yeah.
This was definitely the point at which you and I were just dude, knock it off.
The game itself was fun. I did enjoy playing, but it's also when you're playing with strangers in particular, I try to make it so that everyone's having a good time.
Yeah.
And the host just seemed kind of condescending, and it seemed a little bit pointed at me in particular. I don't know if he was annoyed that we were playing on the same team, even though we were married, but you didn't make that a rule, so...
No, there was no rule against it, and one clue I gave was one that literally only you could have gotten, because I used our dog, because the Pokemon was Houndoom.
Yeah.
So I basically just said, Emma, but a goth. Which you got instantly.
Yep.
Because it was a good clue. Now, granted, it was a clue only you would get, but it was a good clue, and we had one of the members of the group on with each team who were basically responsible for just keeping track of what the taboo words we'd come up with were and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I explicitly checked with him beforehand if it was okay if I did that, and he said, "Yep, that's absolutely fine." I think he said one group got through quite well using just Minecraft memes.
Yep.
Previously, because they were just on the same wavelength. So yeah. So yeah, we got 4 XP each, something like that. For that one, so we've got a total of 9 now. But again, I fully admit there's nothing on that prize table that
There's
particularly
no plush.
interests us.
Yep. So yeah, maybe we'll just save it and throw it out again next time we move. Or maybe we'll just give it to somebody on the last day if we go to bingo or something.
Yeah. So yeah, like, not a bad experience, just
It was a little weird and it felt a little pointed at places. Like they said we had to come back into the room for the next panel and they said we did a good job then, but that was to both of us. And I'm just like, I did like a decent chunk of the work on that panel.
oh
like,
yeah. You did a lot more than I did. Like, I didn't name a single Pokemon, because as I said, like, once you get beyond a certain generation, I know none of their names. Like, I think I did an okay job describing the ones that I, like, I had to describe, but...
I was proud of infantile Nicki Minaj for Smoochum.
Yeah.
The person who was like running our side of the thing, the kind of helper, said that was the best clue he'd ever heard.
It murdered parts of the audience. It did, in fact, get one of the people on our team to the right answer, so,
Well, for those who aren't familiar, like, Smoochum is the baby evolution form of Jinx, which, who knows why they made that, because, like, Jinx was already a controversial character at the time, because...
Racist stereotype?
Yeah, I don't think it was intended to be. I think it was intended to be, like, more kabuki theater in Japan type stereotype, which is still its own problem, but, like, it wasn't that problem, but in the West, it was thought to be a blackface stereotype.
Yeah, it came across a bit minstrelly.
Yeah, so they changed its color to purple and then kind of as slowly faded it out as, like, it still exists. It's just not a very common Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's the same reason they faded out Porygon for, quote-unquote, causing kids to have seizures, even though it wasn't Porygon, it was Pikachu. It was just in the episode that featured Porygon.
But yeah, so again, perfectly okay panel. It's just, again, like, I don't know, maybe we were just kind of tired on an edge and more sensitive to it, but it felt a bit
Well, it felt like he was attacking me specifically sometimes. I don't know, like, did you also feel that way?
I think so, yeah. Like, he did seem to comment on you more in that regard.
Yeah.
Also, again, like, you said the word cat, and the word they had written down was catfish.
Yep.
You did not say catfish, you just said cat.
Yep.
So I would not have counted that as violating the taboo.
If I had said catfish and they had cat, I feel like that would count, because, like, that would include the word cat. But catfish is not the word cat.
Yep.
I wasn't going to rule lawyer that. I also didn't realize that generally, so.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, we kind of took a quick bathroom break, then went back into the room, because the next thing was one of our favourite panels at this con, which was, is it called Rate or is it called Defend?
Defend, or it's, yeah, I'll look it up. Yeah. The schedule is being kind of mean. I think it's Defend Your Waifu.
I think it's Defend Your Waifu.
Check.
So, I adore this panel.
I do too. I love the host. The host knows us now.
Yeah.
They're very nice.
They're wonderful. So the principle of this panel, and this is another one we've done at Sangawa, is they will, if you're interested...
It's Rate My Waifu.
Rate My Waifu. So if you are interested in this panel, you you write your name on a piece of paper, it goes into a bucket, and then they will draw 2 names at a time. You will then be randomly assigned a waifu, or they do also do a husbando version of this panel. And you do that by basically they are broken into categories. You roll a d6. You have to take whichever one you're given. You get no choice. And you then have to passionately defend your waifu and talk about why they are best girl or best boy in the case of the husbandos. And as they said, you might end up with a character you know nothing about. You might end up with a character you hate. Tough. You have to defend them.
Yep.
With as much passion and verve as is possible in order to have them ultimately emerge as the best waifu. And this is bracket style. So you go up, you defend, yield the audience applause meter, decides who moves on, and brackets down until you get to an eventual winner.
Yeah, in some ways I think the first round is actually the toughest round, because in between the rounds you can at least read about the character. If you're just getting a character you don't know, you get like 3 lines of description and then a bunch of photos. So.
Yep. And yeah, this is again the safe for work version of this panel, so they ask you to not make too, you're not allowed your sexual references to be too explicit, and they stick to the mostly safe for work art.
Yeah.
Like it's definitely spicy art.
Yeah.
That they show on the screens, but it's not like, as she says, like, you're not going to get fired if somebody finds it on your work computer.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the 18 plus version at Sangawa, that's when they break out the spicy art.
Yeah.
And again, at Sangawa, we introduced Bridget and James to this panel, and they saw the initial art, and they were like, oh yeah, that's pretty spicy. And I'm like, no, you don't know what you're about to let yourself in for.
Well, like, at Sangawa, you're pretty much guaranteed to get chosen just because it's a bit smaller. Here, you've got maybe a 50% shot of being chosen at most. So I was content, honestly, because I was tired of just not being chosen this time. And this is always the thing. The second I sit down and say I'm content with being an audience member and not being involved, specifically after I start pouring in a beverage for myself,
you get picked for round one.
This time I even waited till, like, they had called 2 names for round 1, and I'm like, okay, my name's not getting picked. And then one of them already had left the room somehow, even though they'd only put their name in that hat like 5 minutes earlier, and it got replaced with my name.
Again, my guess is that person didn't realize they were supposed to be rating a random waifu.
Yeah.
They like had somebody specific in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Because I do know at least a couple of names that came out of the bucket were just the names of characters of waifus. So I suspect people have been planning on like doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Which, to be fair, the panel description tells you exactly how this panel is going to work. Like they are very upfront about it.
Mm-hmm.
So you did in fact end up going up.
Yep.
And you kicked ass, as per usual.
And I continue my streak of being chosen and not ever knowing anything about the character whatsoever. Also, I think this is like 2 for 2 on me having characters that transform into like vehicles. So
does she actually try? I thought she would just because you got Ray from Evangelion. I believe she just pilots a giant mecha.
That's fair. I found out a lot about how she was written based on the Oedipus complex.
Cool.
She had a very detailed wiki page, so thanks for that, whoever wrote that. You were very helpful.
Again, Evangelion is...
Yeah. I mean, I also defeated previous winner first round, which
you did.
high compliment.
Well, I kind of adore the fact that we ended up with 2 previous winners of this facing off against each other in round 1.
Well, I think host was very happy about that because it gives people like a good it warms up the audience and it shows people how the game is played.
Yeah. So you and he were excellent starting people.
Yep.
You kicked his ass, but he did not go down easy, is what I would say.
No, he knew what he was doing. Like there were a few people, particularly in the first, like past the first round, I think everyone got it well enough to be able to debate. But for the first round, there's a lot of people who are just kind of mumbling or kind of commenting on photos. They don't do a bad job. I don't think they're used to doing it quite yet, so they're just doing the best that they can.
Yep. And then my name also came out the bucket.
Yep.
So I ended up with the problem is I keep forgetting I forgot the character's name literally seconds after I got it.
It's the assistant from Ace Attorney.
Yeah. So I basically just was immediately making lawyer jokes.
Yep.
And it says something you didn't hear this, but because I was on the other side of the room for this one. But somebody did say to me that like I must have prepared that speech in advance. I'm like, no, I'm just good at this.
Yep.
With the best one in the world at this point, I've got enough practice doing this and similar improv-y type stuff that I am actually quite good at it. Which meant that I kind of sailed through round 1. But I did get knocked out in round 2.
Yeah.
I lost out to Sailor Moon.
Past round 1, I will say everyone this time had excellent stage presence. Like I could say any of them won, and not that the people in round 1 were bad. Just some of them were a little bit more nervous, and it was their first time doing it. But the thing is, it's your first time doing it, and you learn. So if you did it again, I'd be willing to bet you'd be better. Yeah.
But again, like you and I love improv panels and debate panels and this kind of stuff, so we've done it a lot.
Yep.
Which is why we're good at it.
Yeah. And again, I was pretty happy with our placements. I think I got to the semifinals and you got to the quarterfinals. So.
Yep. Like I had fun.
I had fun too. Like the person who knocked me out, like I complimented them after because they did a really great job and we got a really great chant of like somehow it became about America versus like globalism. Don't ask me how we got there.
I mean, you got there because you made a reference to me, and she was like, "Yeah, but he's British, which makes him the enemy."
Yep.
USA.
Yeah.
You like the enemy.
Yeah. And then I think because like all the tough debaters were knocked out by people who were like nice, including me, like the final round wound up being like adorably polite. and wound up just being them flirting with each other, which was adorable.
Yeah.
I ship that. So,
Yeah.
which I think both of them were also gay. I'm not saying so.
I'm pretty sure he was. I have no idea about her, but like,
She had a vibe,
yeah. But again,
which
who
made
knows?
it more humorous. And again, I'm not speculating on people's sexualities. Also, as a reminder, we don't say people's names in this podcast unless we have their explicit permission.
Yeah. But again, no, this panel is always a blast. I
Yep.
love it to bits. Like, I love the opportunity to play in this panel.
Mm-hmm.
Like, would it have been nice to go up against you in the final round? Yes, but at the same time, you and I were both kind of knackered.
Yep.
Like, this was definitely when I was starting to feel
Mm-hmm.
tired. Yeah, which, given that this was only like 2 in the afternoon, was not a great sign.
Yeah.
And that's not a knock on the panel, for the record. That's just we're in new beds that are harder than we'd like, so we've not been sleeping right.
Yep. So, are we done with that one?
Yep.
So after this, we took a actually 3-hour-long break, which is rare for me, but I'm definitely not going to say this person's name because I don't have his permission. But there was a friend of mine from college who I've not spoken to in like 10 years, who I wanted to catch up with, who randomly goes to this con. So
we took some time to go, to meet up and have a chat. And it's kind of nice when you're at a con and you see, in your case, an old friend. In my case, somebody I've never met before, but and you can just talk for like 3 straight hours.
Yep. I will admit, like, I was somebody who was like on Tinder solely so I could go to coffee houses and have 3-hour conversations with people, because it's just always been something I've been able to do and adore doing.
Yeah.
Like, I just love knowing about people and talking to them, and it's just so much fun. It's also nice when you haven't seen somebody in a long time, because you can update them on a lot of their lives and things like that. So
I discuss like the state of academia and AI and various other nonsense.
Mm-hmm. And they're just a person I have a very long history with, who I really respect, and it was really nice just to catch up with them.
Yeah.
Like, we're obviously not going to review a conversation because that's stupid, but
again, if you're talking about stuff you do at cons, meeting up with friends who you don't see very often is a big part of it.
Yeah.
Like, no ifs, ands, or buts on that one.
And we actually managed to find a mostly empty table, which was a feat in and of itself.
Yep, that was in the vendors hall.
Yep.
Which is interesting. Yeah, which means we did briefly kind of look in the vendors hall. It looks like a vendors hall.
Yeah, I thought like maybe we could walk around the vendors hall and talk, and then it was clear that the conversation we wanted to have wasn't a conversation that we could have while walking around a vendors hall, so we just sat down.
Yeah.
Those 3 hours did not feel like 3 hours.
No.
I'm sad we missed the Silly Goose meeting, though. Next year, please keep doing the Silly Goose board meeting. I will attend one of these years.
Yeah, we meant to go last year and we weren't able to for whatever reason.
Well, last year I just didn't see it on the schedule because it was scheduled as a meetup as opposed to a panel, and I was filtering those out kind of.
Yeah.
It was also, I think, across from my waifu that year. This is the thing, is there's just so much good content at Tekko.
Yeah,
so.
we're missing Husbando this year because it's at the same time as your panel.
Yeah.
Which I did tell the host of this one about.
Yeah.
It says something that when we told her what your panel's on, she was like, damn, that sounds really good.
Like, they are also somebody I would want to hang out with if they're ever free.
Mm-hmm.
They seem pretty cool.
Yep.
And they have a similar relationship with their husband that I have with my husband. So.
Yeah. It's at first he's there to work the laptop and pull up the spicy art.
Yep. And then they make them cheer him, and he's just like, I'm not doing anything.
Yep.
Stop making people cheer me. Just your reaction.
Yep.
We also, did we mention for Write My Wife what they give out snacks?
No.
Okay.
So anybody who takes part gets a ribbon and a snack.
Yep. Which are like all Japanese inspired snacks that are actually quite interesting.
Yeah. I had a chocolate matcha cake thing. Little dry, but otherwise quite nice.
You had 2 of those.
Yeah, I did. Because every time you go up, you get a snack.
Chocolate matcha cake thing. Spooky, scary skeleton.
Yeah, I got the thing. We're too early for Halloween.
No, we're not. It's never too early for Halloween.
Ugh.
Tell that to the goths.
I was going to say you're one of those people. Yeah. Oh, we didn't mention costumes today.
Mm-hmm.
So you're wearing your Christmas dress.
Yeah, because we thought about doing a Christmas LARP and then we didn't. So, but it's also like I don't get to wear this one often, so I'm just like, let's do this one. We have a big costume plan for tomorrow.
Yeah.
It'll be fun.
I mean, it'll be fun for you.
Yeah.
Jesus. Anyway. But yeah. So, hung around chatting to, this person for like 3 hours and change.
Yep.
And then pivoted to, because they had to like get home and stuff. So we then headed to another panel. We contemplated heading home at that point, just because it was after 6, it's a 2-hour drive, etc., etc. But we decided we'd do one more panel and then head home. And this was 1 versus 100. Who's that Pokemon?
Yep.
So the way this panel basically works is they had a guest panelist on it who was some kind of Pokemon YouTuber.
Yeah.
And then they were playing sort of Who's That Pokemon, but like 6 different rounds, each of which was a little bit different.
Yeah. So one was like they ran a description of the Pokedex entry through Google Translate. Like none of them were the traditional Who's That Pokemon where you're shown a silhouette of the Pokemon.
Yeah.
There's one where they showed you like a sliver of the Pokemon. There's one where they showed you the Pokemon's name in another language. That was the hardest round.
Yep.
So they had these different rounds. They had, from what I can tell, they have like a raffle going on downstairs by the Pokemon event stuff where you can put tickets in to win stuff. And one of the things you could win was participation in this.
Yep. One person who put in a bucket load of tickets.
Who was also a friend of the streamer, who I think was just because the streamer clearly knew that person. So that might be a friend or like one of those fans who's also a friend of the streamer. Because I don't think the streamer's like big enough that they wouldn't also be friends with their fans, which valid. We're friends with all our fans.
We are. Both of them. Hi.
More views than that sometimes.
Yeah. Again, remind me to advertise the podcast in your panel tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'll try. I'll modify the slide tonight.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was fun. So like, I think they realized pretty quickly that there weren't actually like, because this person or a couple people had just put in like a bunch of tickets. 3 of the names were drawn from people who put in tickets or donated money for this, and
the rest were just stick your hand up and volunteer.
Yeah. 2 of which were kids. So
yeah,
which is fine. It led to a very adorable moment.
Yeah, man, that kid was good.
Yeah, I will admit I wasn't paying the most attention in this just because I think we're both fading kind of fast. Yeah. But it was very well organized. It was very cute. People basically like come up there and be the person who was choosing from the audience what to choose.
Yep.
And it ended with this, and I'm so glad we stayed for this because we were debating leaving a little bit early, and I'm just glad we stayed for it because it was so wholesome. Of this kid who was definitely under the age of 10. I don't know exactly how old they were, but I would say under the age of 10.
Somewhere in that ballpark.
Who's just of an age where like you can just be so obsessed with something that you just know everything about it because it's just your favorite thing ever. And for this kid, it was Pokemon, and they clearly were going to this con to do Pokemon related things.
They just rolled 5 for 5 on all their questions.
Yeah. They didn't, like, you're supposed to ask the audience for help. The kid did not need audience help.
No.
And the host was commenting, like, I don't even think I could be this kid, just generally.
Yep.
And then everyone chanted the kid's name, which obviously we're not going to say.
But it was adorable.
It was so adorable. And then they asked the kid... Child. And then they asked the kid to give a speech. And their speech was, I know more about Pokemon than you, and you should always read books.
Valid.
That's a great speech, honestly.
Yep, love that. Like, there's some bragging in there, and then there's some, like, good life advice.
Yep. Honestly, great kid. So.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like, decent way to end the day. The room was a little over full, but, like, not awful.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, it was interesting. There was actually, like, a bunch of people milling around outside when we got there because the doors were closed.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody came out and was like, yeah, we have no idea why the doors are closed. You can't just come in. Like, okay. But, yeah. And that was the point at which we hopped in the car and headed home. And then started recording the podcast. So we're about 10 minutes from home now, so this is probably a good point to leave it off.
Yep.
We've still got Saturday and Sunday to go. I think our plan is probably record like a second half of this episode on Sunday.
Most likely, because Thursday and Sunday will be shorter days.
Yeah.
We might be running out of time a little bit more depending on how much we do, because we did do a little bit less on today. And I think we are planning to make days a little bit shorter just so we have to drive back and forth than we normally would. But there's not as much late stuff I want to do this year, so it works out. Maybe we'll play the chess LARP tomorrow.
that the one with the vibrating?
Yes,
Yeah.
I just want to see what it is, dude.
We will see. But yeah. So thank you very much for listening, and we will see you in the rest of this episode.
Bye.
Bye. And we're back.
We're back.
And very tired.
Exhausted.
Yeah.
And we have to be at another convention in 2 days.
3 days.
Ish.
Kind of, sort of. Anyway, Tekko.
So. Where the techs go.
Yeah.
You didn't even get that joke.
Not a clue. So we are recording this second half of the episode on Sunday on the drive back.
Mm-hmm.
So closing ceremony is currently going on. We skipped out of that, but we did stay for the spreadsheet panel, so we'll talk about that when we get there. But so I believe we just wrapped Friday.
Yep.
And let's talk about Saturday. So
cool.
Saturday we knew we needed to get up a bit earlier because, well, we wanted to get there and we wanted a reasonable chance of getting parking.
Yeah, it was kind of more important.
Yep.
Because I decided to wear my biggest and poofiest ball gown because I haven't worn that in a while.
Mm-hmm.
It was big and it was poofy.
Yep.
It's technically apple white from Fairy Tale High, but it's kind of just generic generally. So, but it's fun, it's big, it's poofy. I haven't worn it in a while. And I decided this was a good chance to break it out, and he agreed to it. So.
Yeah. I've been a little sleep deprived recently. Because again, like, I could have sworn I told you that dress you're only supposed to wear if it's 10 minutes from the venue. Because there is so much poof to this one that it just expands over onto the driver's side of the car, which starts becoming a wee bit of a problem. But it was fine. We managed okay. And again, I mock because I love.
Mm-hmm.
And I do.
I know. It was big, it's poofy, it's very heavy, so it takes a lot. Sometimes the hoop under it collapses in on itself in utter despair. So
I think the hoop held up pretty well this weekend.
It collapsed a little bit towards the end of the day, but it made it through the first part of the day well.
Yeah.
So we got there pretty early generally, which means we were up at 6 to get there.
Yeah, I got up at 6. I got you up at 5:30.
Which means we also have discovered that our dog doesn't like it when you use the bathroom that's next to the bedroom in the new house.
Yeah.
Because she barked at you a bunch and woke me up.
So I was just like, okay, I'm awake. I don't need to wake her up for another 10 minutes. I'll have a quick bathroom break and then I'll go get her. Yeah, no. Emma heard me and was not a fan of this.
Yep.
If I ever need to pee in the middle of the night, I'm going to have to go downstairs.
Probably.
But anywho. So got up, got dressed, got on the road, etc., etc. So it did mean we got there about 9:10. Which we didn't realize in advance. We realized when we drove past to get into the parking. The floor didn't actually open until 9:30. So we just kind of loitered in the car for about 15, 20 minutes until they opened the doors.
Yeah, because of how big my dress was, we obviously couldn't get an aisle spot. So you kind of deliberately took a long time to get stuff out of the car park or in the spot next to me just so no one would take it.
Yeah.
It was also one of those spots that has one of those poles in the middle of it, so it wasn't a very premium spot anyway, so I don't think anyone even tried to take it, but it helped, so.
Yeah. So, and again, for the record, if anybody had desperately needed the spot, I would have let them have it.
Obviously,
but
it wasn't like a handicapped accessible spot or anything.
But I would have basically said, can you give me a second while we get my wife out of the car, and you'll realize why I asked that if once it happens. But no, it worked out fine.
Yeah. It's also worth mentioning, because I don't think we have it yet, that Tekko does have themes. They're a bit more subtle than the furry themes, but they do have them. I think part of the issue with it is because they don't do program books or program guides or anything like that. Their themes are a little bit less
obvious.
Yeah. So this year's theme was something along the lines of just Pittsburgh. I think it was Spirit of Pittsburgh or something, or Pittsburgh and pop culture. It had some fun name. I'll look it up right now.
Yep. But it did mean that we did... Once we found this out, we noticed that there were several Pittsburgh-themed costumes. There was at least one, possibly two, Pittsburgh-themed Hatsune Mikus going around. And there was when we were watching the cosplay contest, we saw a Pittsburgh-themed Tifa and Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. So, people people were going with
There
it.
were also just various people who were just wearing jerseys over their normal cosplays because they're also fans of the Pittsburgh sports teams.
Yep.
It is worth noting that Tekko generally, I do think, tends to be a bit more local than
Yes.
other stuff. As evidenced by the fact that the number of hotel rooms they sell is a lot smaller than Anthrocon.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, which again, that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with Tekko being at least in part a local convention. But we did get all the numbers today during the spreadsheet panel.
Which we will talk about.
When we get there. Sheets. Anyway. So yeah, so we got there, loitered in the car for a little bit, and then went in. Again, most straightforward process. Immediately, I think one of the first things we did was try and find a quietish bathroom, which at that time of day wasn't difficult. Later in the day, it proved more problematic.
Yeah. I have gotten better at going to the bathroom in this massive ball gown, though.
Mm-hmm. There are tips and tricks that you don't need to worry about.
Yep.
But,
did that. We meandered about for a bit, and then went to our first panel at 10 a.m.
Yep.
Which is with Unlockable Content, who we adore.
Yeah, I love these guys. So Unlockable Content are another YouTube channel. I say another, like
and also panelist group.
Yep. They do a lot of video game themed content and that kind of stuff. I think we might be seeing them in 2 weeks at Key City.
Yeah, it sounded like they were going this year. I know they couldn't go last year because I think some other stuff conflicted. I don't really remember what. So
yeah, which happens.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we definitely confirmed with them that we will be at Key City. So we'll, hopefully we'll see them there. But so this was their Mario Kart GPS or whatever it's called.
I do feel like it could be better named because it's just Unlockable Content presents GPS the game. You have to click on the description to realize that it's blindfolded Mario Kart. Like I would put blindfolded Mario Kart in the title. Like it's not technically blindfolded, it's people sitting the opposite direction, but it's blindfolded Mario Kart.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, again, as we mentioned on last week's episode, blindfold Mario Kart is just stupid good fun.
Yep.
Specifically, so the version that Unlockable Content does is 2 players facing off against each other. Because of the way Tekko does their setup, they basically do one on one side of the room, one on the other. And they are placed in chairs facing away from the TV that is showing the game. And then there is somebody in a chair directly opposite them who can see the screen who has to navigate for them.
Yeah, which means the directions, because they're facing in the same direction of the screen, are inverted. Which makes it even more confusing.
It's so much worse. It's great.
Yeah. Because when they were doing it at Dokido, you just had people like facing the correct direction and you were moving their shoulders effectively.
Yeah, you were just like leaning them left and right when they did it blindfolded Dokido, which again was fun.
Yep.
But this one is just even more chaos. So this was a blast. We had fun watching this.
And playing.
We did also play. The first time you were navigating and I was driving, and we sucked so hard that
the game thought I think we had quit and no one was playing anymore. Like I think at some point, if you're doing so poorly, the controller just thinks that you've like left the controller, or like a cat has gotten it or something. It's just like you're not even good enough to play, so it timed us out.
Yeah, it's like you've been dropped from the race. And like, the host commented, "Wow, I didn't even know it did that."
Yep.
So we got another go around, and this time we decided to switch. So I was navigating, you were driving.
I think it's better for you to do inverted directions than it is for me. I think with like whatever weird form of dyslexia or whatever other learning disabilities I probably have, like it's hard for me to do it in my brain. So I think we're better at it.
Once I got the hang of it, I could do it.
Yeah. And I think I was better at turning the car, so it wasn't just a hard turn.
Quite possibly. So we actually ended up winning our heat. We came 22nd out of 24.
Which means we beat the other team in 1 NPC.
Yeah.
Oh, that 1 NPC.
Yep.
I think we did see somebody get like 16th or something like that.
Somebody got 8th.
Wow.
That's insane.
Yep.
But yeah, so this panel is it's a hoot. It's a lot of fun. They also gave out like pretty decent prizes.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah, it was fun. It was cute. Everyone gets a prize for participating. You get a slightly better prize for winning. We got a cute like little bunny mug thing that I actually really like. So
it's very, very sweet.
And additionally, they they choose people for this panel. Like, there's a lot of ways you can volunteer. This person tosses a plushie basically into the audience
Yep.
to choose who wins, and they obviously try to toss it into a direction they haven't tossed it before and have to kind of grab it. They can also just hand it to somebody else if they don't want to play. The plushie was almost a casualty in this panel, though.
Yeah, it got slightly stuck in the light at one point because somebody lobbed it back to them and overclocked the throw, so it went too high. I got into one of the light fixtures, so that did then turn into the room working together to get it back down.
Yeah, I think it was a free rim cosplayer or some cosplayer that has one of those crook sticks basically was trying to stand on a chair to get it down, and then they weren't tall enough, so I volunteered you.
Yeah, on the grounds that once again I am 6'6".
Yep.
And I follow the code of the tall.
Yep.
I'm not allowed to offer to help somebody who is shorter than myself with a problem that requires height, but if asked, I will always assist.
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of volunteered me,
Yep.
and I did, in fact, manage to get it down without causing any further damage to anything.
Yeah.
So
it really became almost like a mini game within the panel.
Mm-hmm.
This is the thing. I actually really do love con moments that are just like this, that just kind of happen organically, and then just become this kind of fun thing that everyone kind of does.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, of course it does. Yeah. It was very silly, but it was fun.
Yep.
But yeah, so my brain has gone blank. What was the next?
Are you done talking about?
I'm trying to think. Is there much more to say about Blindfold America? Again, this panel is a hoot. I do adore it. It's very, very stupid.
Yep.
The only issue is I'm going to be honest. The Switch Joy-Con controllers suck.
Yeah.
But that's not the fault of the host. No, but again, that's just my irrational hatred of Nintendo.
Yep.
Why is X the accelerator? That's just weird.
That's fair. I don't really have any strong opinions about Nintendo or the Switch generally. I've not had console gaming since I was 8, so...
That's fair.
Because my parents did not love me. You can't even rebut that.
No, here's the thing. The audience thinks that's a joke. That's not a goddamn joke.
It's not.
Anywho.
I mean, it is insofar as the dark humor just circles back around on itself.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of dark humor, we did Hentai Pictionary, also with unlockable content after that.
Now, you would think that if a panelist was doing 2 panels back to back, they would just be in the same room.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't.
Yeah.
But there was a specific reason for this, which is Tekko has a specific panel room. It's panel room 8. I think it was panel room 8 last year as well, so It might be a consistent thing. That is their 18 plus room. Mm-hmm. So at certain times of day, there may be 18 plus content in other rooms, but generally speaking, if you're going to an 18 plus thing, it's going to be in that panel room.
Yeah, which does mean that they also, and I think they just did this because they had that much 18 plus content, which I do get. They just had 18 plus content at all hours of the day, just in one room.
Yep.
Including at 11 o'clock on Saturday. Which is a bit weird at the time. But
it's a little bit weird, but yeah.
I will say, though, it did wind up being a little bit pointless, just because I think there was somebody supposed to be checking that room that just wasn't.
They were certainly there for a decent chunk of the rest of the day.
It might have just been that they didn't realize there were 18 plus panels starting that early.
That's possible. But again, there was nobody in that panel room below the age of 18. Yep. It was fine. But yes, again, keep in mind, 18 plus Pictionary is basically what it sounds like. You get a bunch of dirty prompts and then just have to draw them. So specifically, these are common tags you might search for on certain websites that you need to be 18 plus to look at.
Yeah, we can't really describe in detail on this not 18 plus podcast what went on in that room, but it basically was people yelling the tags you might find on those websites at the screen where people did very bad drawings.
Yeah.
It's also worth noting that this isn't with an actual Pictionary board. No one is actually drawing stuff. What they're doing is, they are, but they're not using a board or a whiteboard or anything like that to draw it. I think this person literally just found this game randomly at Walmart that I think was an off-license China product that barely works on a phone, which is basically, it comes with a little clicky thing. You point it at your phone and then it draws on the phone screen, and then you can project that phone screen onto something else so people can see what you're drawing, basically.
Yeah. Again, it's kind of perfect for a slightly janky con game.
Yeah.
Because
Like, I kind of love how bad like the software actually is.
Yeah. So it's great. It's dumb. It's fun, and like it devolves into a bunch of people in a room constantly yelling the same expletive at the start of every one, not because they ever think it's right, because it's funny. So, yeah, you and I both participated. I had to. I actually, to be fair, my thing that I had to draw wasn't even particularly not safe for work.
Yep.
Like mine was eyeless protagonist.
Mine was demon, so not all of them are dirty. Also, shout out to that one guy, and I can say this word because it's just an atomically correct word, who was just yelling penis with every single.
Yeah. That was the guy I was referring to.
Yeah.
Like every time his team started drawing, before they drawn anything, he would just yell it.
Yep.
Which was funny.
And yeah, this is the thing I do love about Tekko is generally you can sit down anywhere in Tekko and just kind of bond with the people you're with, and that happened during this panel generally. So we're talking to some of the people behind us a little bit, just shouting various things at the screen. So
it says something that we got like 2 rounds in before somebody thought it would be a good idea to close the door.
Yep.
But we were still warming up at that point.
Yeah.
So this was basically after the first questionable thing was shouted, and they're like, "Should we close that door?" Yeah, let's.
Well, we had to do that, and then because no one was manning that door, even though they probably should have been, I think, again, just because they didn't realize the panel was on, we had to keep opening it because the door is auto-locked also to, I guess, stop kids from sneaking in, so it became its whole thing.
Yep. But again, it was fun, it was silly, it gave that, like, fun, stupid community atmosphere.
I mean, if there's an actual child, I mean, like a child who's young, they're going to be with an adult who's going to very quickly redirect them away from that, so it's fine.
Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. That was very dumb, like in all the right ways. What was next?
Let me look it up, Vamp.
So yeah, so once again, I will say, actually, at this, on Saturday yesterday, I did end up having a conversation with somebody about the Tekko paneling, because they were interested in doing a panel at Tekko, and since one of the things we did this weekend was a panel, they kind of wanted to ask about the process. And I did mention to them that I know a lot of stuff this year got waitlisted. And based on a comment during the spreadsheet panel, I think they got a lot of submissions this year, and they feel kind of like they have so much programming on, and they feel bad that they can't do more at the moment unless they can, like, because they were talking about potentially expanding into the Western to use some of their space as well for even more programming, which I would love to see them do.
Yeah.
And they basically said this year it just wasn't viable because the Western already had like a conference and a wedding.
I think part of the problem is also they definitely have various gaming groups that they work with a lot, or paneling groups that they work with that I think just get spots.
Yep.
And that did lead to a little bit of a problem this weekend. Like there were several different panels that were either Anime Jeopardy or Anime Described Badly panels, which is fine. But there's a lot of those kind of same types of games, and I would have liked a little bit more variety, and also maybe a chance to give people some new stuff.
Yep.
But I also love that they have a bunch of very random stuff. So we wandered around for a little bit to check out like the LARP tables. I still don't think a lot of those LARPs were making, just because I think people would rather do other stuff at Tekko, but like they had a lot of very interesting concepts.
They do.
And then we went back into the same room so you could do your Dragon Age panel.
Ah, yes. So we weren't initially planning to do this because, again, like I got kind of overwhelmed trying to look at the schedule this week and just didn't really have time for it. And the Eventi app does not work on my phone because my phone still thinks it's a UK phone. So we've been using yours. So the various things we hearted, like you just did not notice this panel because you're not a person who's ever played Dragon Age.
Yeah.
And the only reason I knew this was a thing was the, while we were like figuring out where we were going next at the end of the previous panel, I happened to overhear the panelists who were about to set up for this panel telling the previous panelist what it was. I was like, oh, that sounds kind of fun. So this was basically just a panel going through the various romance options from the Dragon Age games and like giving them a quick roast, letting the audience like talk about them a little bit. Like it was a very like low-key, fun, stupid cooperative panel. Like I'm not even necessarily convinced it needed to be plus 18.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I noticed it was in the plus 18 room, and I don't really remember there being much like There was, I think, a shot of somebody's butt, but that was about it. So
It was Dorian. If you're a fan of the franchise, that probably won't surprise anybody. Like the Dragon Age games they're rated M for mature. Like they're a little spicy on occasion. There's some theme stuff, and like by the time you get to the third game, they start showing boobs. But like, it's never anything like super ridiculously, over the top. But I think it's just this panel, because it was talking about like romance in video games, could potentially have gotten quite spicy, depending on how spicy people wanted to be when they were talking about it. I think they erred on the side of caution and made it 18 plus, which I don't necessarily think was a bad move, because it did give them the freedom to make some comments. But like the actual content of the panel, I think would have been fine at like 16 plus levels. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what did you think of all the Dragon Age romance options?
I was not paying a lot of attention during this, I will admit, just because it's midday Saturday, I was in a big poofy ball gown, and like it's obviously if you don't know anything about something and it's a panel about romancing the characters, it's just gonna mean nothing to you. It's effectively like having a panel in French. Like the hosts were nice. I like that they had both like a kind of rating section, and I also love that they had somebody who didn't even play the game guess or look at the characters and try to say stuff about them. That was fun.
That was fun.
And they had an audience section for discussion. Like this was the thing I like a lot about Tekko generally is it has a lot of very what I would call classic con anime panels generally. Like this is what I feel like a con panel in 2010 would be.
Yeah, I sort of know what you mean. And that's not a criticism or a
It's not. Like
or
I
an
like
insult.
that we're able to keep this element of cons alive now, just because I feel like anime cons that are like this in some ways are kind of being replaced by more corporate versions of them at the moment.
Yeah.
Just how high the cost of everything are. Yeah. We got some very good news about Tekko in that regard. So.
We did. But so it's one of those things. I kind of adore panels like this, and yes, granted, if I hadn't known about Dragon Age, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it anywhere near as much. There is a particular quote from Dragon Age 2, which is the phrase "shut up, whore," which starts off as an insult at the beginning of the game and by the end is a term of endearment, which means I got to shout that in the panel and have a room of people go, yes. So that was fun.
Yeah.
So, I had fun with this. Sorry if you were a little bored.
I didn't mind relaxing for a little bit. There wasn't a lot midday that I wanted to do. This isn't entirely Tekko's fault generally, but I will say, and I talked a little bit about this in the spreadsheet panels. I know because they were selling day badges this year, which I think is the first or second time they've done that. They were trying to schedule stuff by day such that it would feel like a different experience every day that you went, which I think might be why they just had anime panels on different days and things like that. But it did feel like this year, more so in past years, they had even more scheduling stuff conflict than normal in terms of time periods where I wanted to do multiple things versus time periods where there were less things I wanted to do. And I do understand that a con cannot be catered to my specific interests specifically, but
no, Tekko scheduling, you should schedule everything specifically around what we want.
Yes, exactly.
Just the entire con. Yep. That's how you should do it.
Yeah. Run your schedule past us and have us rearrange things.
Yeah, so that we can have the absolute optimal day, and
yes.
Who cares about the other 12,000 guests.
Exactly.
We cared obviously, but
I hope people understood that. Yes.
Yes.
But it did feel like there was a little bit more scheduling bulk at particular times, a little bit more this time. And I do feel like, suspect there was a lot of problems with scheduling this year due to the sheer amount of panels that they got.
Yeah.
Probably because of the badge reimbursement stuff, which we'll talk a little bit about when we get to my panel. But I do think that means that there was a few more event conflicts generally.
Yeah.
And it's also I'm always of the philosophy of I'm in the middle of something that I'm enjoying. I'm not going to go leave it to risk another panel that I might not enjoy as much. I've learned that trick many times at cons. If a panel is going well, you don't leave it.
Yep.
So after that, we pivoted. After they went through the slideshow, I was like, okay, I can't. This is as much as I can hear somebody talk about something I don't understand. So let's go check out how the cosplay line is, because I at least wanted to. We knew pop culture choreography / Bridget was going to be in the Masquerade this year, and we do tend to like Tekko's Masquerade. So I didn't know if 100% sure we were going to go to this year, because their Masquerade is 3 hours long.
Yes.
It's a big time commitment.
It is. It's usually a very good show, but it's a decent chunk of your con day if
Yeah.
you want to attend it. And so one of the things that we have been commenting on is that we know that they are working on their ADA stuff, and we did actually overhear some conversations relating to that. The one big thing that we are going to be giving them as feedback, and we are probably going to send them this podcast, is better signage regarding your ADA stuff.
Yeah. And also, I get that sometimes separate lines might not be possible, but there are some reasons for which you wouldn't want to combine, your premium badge holder lines with your ADA lines. I get that sometimes that's unavoidable, but at the very least, if you're doing that, please at least signpost it. Because as somebody with an invisible disability, I'm not going to be redirected. I just won't be. I have to ask.
Yes.
So if I'm in a wheelchair or something like that, I might be redirected. They also were having to ask. And I don't also know to the extent to which these were official policies, so much as they were just people who had accessibility just kind of making their own line.
Yeah.
I don't know which one it was.
Yeah, so we quickly realized that there were quite a few ADA people
Milling about.
Milling about, or just using what was obviously the VIP line.
And we saw somebody who had ADA access and was commenting on it walk through the VIP line.
Yeah.
And we kind of just followed them in.
Yeah. So I basically went into the VIP line to hold a space for you.
Yeah, because I wasn't able to fit. They did have lines. I suppose this is better than tape on the ground, but they did have lines that were done by basically
actual barriers.
Yeah, which I do think is better.
Yep.
But if you're in a ball gun as massive as I was, that wasn't happening in any regard, and also being boxed in would have not been a thing I could have done.
Yep.
So I just kind of stayed next to the VIP line that was mostly the access line. I think there were only 3 VIPs that were actually in the line.
Yeah,
everyone else was access.
Yeah, based on what I could see in that line, the number of people who had a VIP or a Rockstar badge in that line was maybe 10% of the people in the line.
Yeah.
I think everybody else in it was ADA.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody assisting somebody with ADA.
Yep.
But that... Yeah, so...
It's also worth noting, I have been noticing that, especially for bigger cons, their cosplay attendance numbers for the contest has definitely gone down a bit. There weren't as many people attending this, and a lot of the people who were attending it because they had a friend in the contest. In fairness, is mostly why we attended it.
Yeah, it is.
I do still like Tekko's Masquerade a lot.
I adore it.
Yeah. But
it does feel like attendance is going down, and I'm not specifically sure why.
Part of it, it's a very long show. 3 hours of your con day is a long time. We do not do RPG games at cons that aren't RPG focused because they're 3 to 4 hours of your con day, and you're missing a lot of con content if you're doing that.
Yeah. Content.
Con content.
But yeah. So, again, it's always a really good show, and I'm very glad they do it. But I'm not... I'm wondering if, at this point, people just kind of figure, well, I don't really need to go to a big show to see the cosplay because I will just see it in the corridors, or something like that. And for the record, this isn't just a Tekko thing.
Yeah, it's an everyone thing.
Yeah. But I also don't necessarily want to lose these kind of shows either.
Well, I do wonder if you were commenting that it might partially be, and I want to emphasize this is not either Tekko generally either, but it's not just Tekko, it's cons generally. For a while now, cosplay contests have really favored, particularly in craftsmanship, a certain type of very clean, very, very simple costume that isn't typically an audience favorite as a winner. And I think for some people, it's just kind of annoying to watch that happen again and again, where it's just something that's being awarded for effectively having no problems as opposed to doing something very big, interesting, and unique. And I do worry to some extent, and again, I want to emphasize, this is not Tekko itself as a show, this is cosplay more generally. Although I do weirdly think we had the same rant last year, because I remember talking about it during the Tekko episode.
Yep.
I do think that might be turning some people off from watching cosplay, because they know what they're going to see in the show, and what they're going to see awarded in the show isn't necessarily going to be their favorite costumes anymore. Yeah.
Whereas if they just see something cool in a corridor, they could just go up to the person and say, "Hi, you look awesome. Can I have a picture?"
Yeah.
You had your picture taken a bunch, basically every day of this con, because again, you look awesome. You're in big poofy ball gowns. It's fun, and whereas you would never win anything in a cosplay contest, at least in part because most of your stuff you do not like hand make. You do a lot of like what would be considered thrifted cosplay.
Well, that's like part of the thing generally is I do feel like, especially on the craftsmanship side at least, it doesn't really feel like what they're awarding is, or it doesn't seem like the audience is the focus. And that's not to say necessarily that it should be the focus, but you're perfectly capable, given that it's all prejudged, of having a cosplay competition and giving out awards without having an audience there at all.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels more like, based on how they're doing cosplay, particularly in construction now, it's leaning more towards that, where it feels like they don't even care that the audience is there.
Yeah.
Like, it's not meant to entertain the audience. Whereas I think people who do a lot of craftsmanship, and again, I want to emphasize this is not about Tekko, generally tend to think that they are entertaining the audience somehow by having very clean costumes, when that's not something anyone in the audience cares about.
Nope.
And for a long time, because they have this approach where it's prejudged and it's looking up close, those are the things people focus on, and those aren't things the audience can see.
Yep.
So it's not going to entertain them.
But again, this is mostly just our like over a rant about cosplay contests generally.
Which again, I do think this was very well done. I think that they gave awards to a wide variety of things. They picked costumes that looked cool for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Although, never mind. I don't want to throw shade at a specific costume.
No.
So yeah, we got seated pretty quickly. I was distracted by a small child.
Yeah.
Tekko has a lot of small kids running around it. And if you're in a fairy princess costume, you're doing some stage work all weekend. So.
Yep. Which is fine.
Yep.
It's fun. Yeah. So we got seats. So the chairs next to us got taken up by a group of, I believe, teenage girls.
Yep.
And they were enthusiastic.
Yeah, my ears are still ringing.
Yeah. This is not a complaint.
No, it's kind of nice to watch somebody to be... Like, this is the things, I never got to have this as a teenager. Like, all of my enthusiasm I have to deal with now, like, as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, I still have way too much enthusiasm. I feel like I have more enthusiasm about things than is appropriate for an adult to have, but whatever. Shut up.
I'm British and jaded about everything.
Yeah, I know, it's annoying.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just nice to kind of see it. It did hurt my ears a little bit to the point where I was kind of holding them a little bit, mostly. Like, it was more so that I just wanted a little bit of ear protection.
Yeah.
Than it was, like, bothering me. It was legitimately cute.
Yeah. And again, it was fun.
And, like, those people, I will say, I don't think they knew anyone specifically in the show, because they legitimately just cheered everything.
They were cheering for everybody, and, like, yes, they would cheer louder if somebody was coming on in a costume from a thing they liked. Like when the Genshin Impact cosplayer went up on stage, they really lost their minds.
But they were just, like...
But they were giving that energy to everybody.
Yeah, and it's really nice just kind of be sitting next to somebody who's just honestly having an honest to good blast after what we just talked about, watching a cosplay competition.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who's not there to support any particular person or isn't somebody's friend, but is just there because they are a teenager and want to see this. It's just kind of adorable.
Just having the absolute time of their life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they did the craftsmanship first, with the craftsmen kind of walking across the stage, doing their posing, standard stuff, and then they did their masquerade.
Mm-hmm.
And I do want to highlight the MC for this event, who did a stellar job.
Oh, they were fantastic.
Like, they were, I have no idea what the character was from, but they were in character the entire show.
Yep.
That's hard. That is really hard character work.
Yeah. Like, they managed to stay in character while still... Like, keep in mind, if you're an MC, you also have to wrangle a lot of people, vamp for time, and get people in directions that they need to go. And this person was playing kind of a sarcastic, mean character, and they managed to do that while still being 100% nice to every single performer.
Yep. Like... And
staying in character while doing that.
Yeah. Like, they did a really fantastically stellar job. Yeah. I really like this MC.
I did too.
I thought they did fantastic.
Yeah.
Right down to the fact that, like, there was a couple of moments in the performance masquerade where they needed to vamp for time for one reason or another. The first one was like, why are they suddenly vamping for time? What's going on? And then I realized that one of the judges had to step away from the table for a moment. They probably just needed a bathroom break or whatever. Like, it's fine. Occasionally the judge needs to leave the table for a moment. But it says something that the decision there was to effectively pause the show for a minute until they got back, and just have the MC like vamp for a couple of minutes to keep the crowd entertained until the judge got back, so to make sure the judge didn't miss anything, which I appreciate, because it would have sucked for the person up next in the in the performances if one of the judges hadn't seen it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I appreciate them doing all of that, and I appreciate the judges seem to. And I want to emphasize when I mentioned at Dokia that one of the judges was on their phone. The other two judges seemed like they were very wrapped in attention. In this thing, the judges seemed like they were wrapped in attention 100% of the time, to the point where I do think they notified them when they had to leave the table for a minute, and they let the MC do that.
Yeah.
It is worth noting that they also seem to get like judges from very far away. We've had somebody from Australia that I think they legitimately flew here, which is awesome.
Yeah. I think they said originally Australian and now lives in Japan.
Yep. I think they still flew them here.
Oh yeah, I don't doubt that.
Yeah. Which is just kind of awesome that they're able to do this generally. They're spending their budget on fun things. And I do think they have different cosplay judges every year from what I've seen. I
believe they do. I was also going to say, they also had 3 craftsmanship judges and 3 performance judges. Yep. Good. And they gave the credentials of the performance judges, and they weren't just more craftsmanship judges who'd been roped into judging performance. They were actual performers, which I appreciate. Because as we mentioned before, one of our particular bugbears of these things is when they have craftsmanship judges judging performance as well. Mm-hmm. So, good job, Tekko.
Yeah.
They also gave out all the awards they were supposed to.
At least I think they did.
I think so.
There might have been a youth award they just didn't give out because there was no one in that category, but it seemed like all the awards that had categories they gave out.
Yeah.
Although for performance, it was a little bit weird because they had judges awards, and then they had honorable mentions, and they had an MC's award, and then they had the winners from each of the 3 divisions, which is novice, journeyman, and masters. Mm-hmm. Whereas they did it slightly differently for the construction-based contest.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure why they were slightly different.
Yeah.
Because with craftsmanship, they gave out 3 judges awards, then first place and second place in each of the 3 categories, and then a best in show. Mm-hmm. And then for performance, they gave out 2 honorable mentions.
I just said this.
I was going into more detail.
Okay.
2 honorable mentions and an MC's award, mm-hmm. which kind of ended up functionally feeling kind of like they also gave out 3 judges awards. But one of them was from the MCs. Who knows?
Yep. But they also gave out judges awards, didn't they?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so.
I thought they did. I'm pretty sure they did.
Yeah, they did. Which also, so they gave out judges awards, they gave out the MC's award, and they gave out 2 honorable mentions, but they didn't do runners-up in the categories.
That's what I meant.
So they ended up giving out the same number of awards, just in slightly different ways. It was weird.
Yeah. Which is fine.
Well, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah, it was just a little confusing.
Yeah.
It was also confusing because they did the honorable mentions before the Judges' Choice Awards.
Yes.
But I would do the Judges' Choice Awards before the honorable mentions. Maybe
in
a technical sense, the Judges' Choice Awards is technically a higher level award in performance than an honorable mention is for whatever reason. I really don't know.
It's very confusing and weird.
I do know that they had to basically, because up until this point, I do think Tekko is not capped number of entries. I know that they did do that this year.
Yeah, 25, I believe, is the number.
I didn't have time to check with Bridget. She did seem to imply that it was at least partially juried, which means that they basically select certain entries. I don't know what that means. For some cons, you have to submit videos in advance, and they'll basically pick you or something like that. Mm-hmm. I doubt Tekko has done anything that extensive. I imagine it's just they might limit the types of acts, because I do think they want a very big variety show, which they did get.
Oh, they had a great variety. Yeah. It was also unusual and very nice seeing masters level skits. Mm-hmm. You don't get a lot of that at most of the shows.
Yeah.
At least in Barker's Tekko is one of relatively few that does split its performance into novice, journeyman, and master. Mm-hmm. Frequently, they'll just do the performance category.
Yeah. And to embellish or expand on your point, when we say master's level skits, we mean stuff there's a lot of people at the master's level that do singing and do dance.
Yes.
But people who do skit work, fully choreographed, storytelling, mm-hmm. Particularly at the cons in our area, because dance and singing have dominated the technical skills for so long over storytelling mediums a lot of the time.
Yeah.
You don't tend to see as many people at the master's levels who do skit-like performances.
Yeah.
even though skit-like storytelling performances are popular at other cons, just not ones that are close to us.
Yeah.
We just don't see them as much. So it was interesting to see people like there's a strand on Puppeteer, I think in the Journeyman category that was amazing.
Yep.
They did win something.
Yeah, they did.
And there was a couple different skits at different levels. Somebody was just being a bard on stage. Like I liked this, felt like a masquerade. It didn't feel like
a dance show or a singing competition.
Yeah.
And again, like for the record, there was dancing, there was singing, and they were great.
And there were people who did skits that incorporated dancing and singing.
But it was nice to have that variety. And that is ultimately, I think, the thing that Tekko's show has going for it.
And the thing I also appreciated with the judging is they awarded a wide variety of different things.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't clearly there was one skill set that they were trying to award, and it wasn't that they were awarding those who did the most sophisticated technical thing. Yeah. They did a lot of different awards. They gave people awards for a lot of different things, and it felt really kind that they did this.
Yeah. Like, Bridge was doing a dance based on Hercules, the Disney movie, and she took the MC's award. And damn good for her, well earned. But there was also like a skit that won an award. There was some singing stuff that won awards. Like it felt like a proper masquerade in a way that a lot of the others we have been to recently kind of haven't.
Yeah.
So good job, Tekko. I think capping your entries to about 25 was about the right call. I know it probably sucks having to turn people down and turn them away, but you have reached the point where you need to.
Yeah. And I wouldn't, I think you did a good job of getting a wide variety of acts at a wide variety of different skill levels. I hope that can go forward in the future and still be done in such a way that you can still have people who are new to being on stage be on stage. I know that's a hard thing to balance, but I hope they can continue to balance this.
Yes.
The construction competition also seemed good. It's a little bit harder for me to comment on that because, again, it's all prejudged with stuff I can't see.
Yep.
So, but they awarded stuff that looked cool, which I liked.
Yes.
So there was an LED thing that I'm a bit sad didn't get anything because it was a very cool, if that was a pattern LED placement that they did, that's a very hard and technical skill. So I kind of wish that had been something.
Yeah, their back wing things, I don't know, again, I don't know the characters, I don't know what these were, had Japanese kanji on them that they made out of LEDs, so they lit up. That was really cool. I agree with you. I could see that one kind of behind the stage, and I was like, ooh, something back there is lighting up. That looks fun. But yeah. So we did that. We did have to skip out just before the
we saw
overall winner was
Bridget / pop culture choreography, if you follow her, did win the MC's award.
Yes.
And I was interested to see how they did that because the performance judges went back to deliberate, and the MC stayed on stage and did basically effectively a miniature version of the cosplay dating game with themselves in character as a way to entertain the crowd during halftime. Mm-hmm. It's not really halftime when the judges are deliberating their awards.
Yeah.
Which was cute, but then I didn't realize they were also giving that an award, so presumably they didn't have to go backstage and figure that out.
Goodness knows.
I don't know how that worked, or if the MC's award was just something that they decided just randomly at some point. So
they had prizes prepped for it and a certificate ready to go.
No, I do believe that it's an actual award. I just don't know exactly how it's awarded. If the MC is just told to pick somebody, or if they're involved in the deliberation, or if the judges really do it on their behalf and then just tell them who to say. I really don't know which version of that is. But the point is, Bridget got an award for somebody who is a technical dancer, who admires the technical dancing skill.
Yeah,
and I think it was nice for the MC to award something. I got the sense that sometimes, because in theory, and I say this in theory, judges for performance have rubrics that are also kept hidden from the participant for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. I feel like sometimes the judges' awards and MC's awards are meant to award something that for whatever reason doesn't fit on the rubric correctly. Yeah. So maybe Bridget, because they don't do props or other stuff, couldn't win the other awards, but the MC's award really admired their technical dancing skill. Yeah. And I will say I adored her performance this time. She does Disney characters in particular so well.
Yeah, and it was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. So again, good show. Mm-hmm. Our ears haven't fully recovered from how much the crowd next to us in particular was enjoying it.
Yep.
And again, generally positive things to say about it. It just kind of sucks that it definitely feels like the crowd was starting to thin out a little bit, this year. It didn't feel like as many people wanted to go to the show, which is a pity because of how good it is relative to a lot of other cons.
Yeah. It's very long. And it's a large time of con day. It's also still when the vendors hall is open, so it's competing with a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it is.
And I will say, if you want to perform it in particular, because they do have rehearsal, you do have to spend generally most of your con day just doing this.
Yeah. Now, the advantage of that rehearsal is if you want, like, the AV team to do anything for you, like specific lighting colors or...
They also had a back screen this year.
Yep. Or any specific, like, timing on stuff, they will work with you to get it right and get to the point where, you can give the best performance you possibly can. So, yeah.
Yeah, but we did have to duck right before they announced the final awards, just because we stayed to see Bridget win, and then we rushed across because you need to get the laptop out of the car because my panel was next.
Yeah. Because I didn't want to carry around my laptop bag all day, so I just left the laptop bag in the car, and then went and got it, and we got set up for your panel. Shout out to the AV team, because the first HDMI cord did not want to work, so they were, their comment was, I hate directional HDMI cords. I don't know why they keep giving them to us. So they went and got me a non-directional one, which worked instantly.
Yep.
So, do you want to talk about your panel?
Yeah, well, I will say this started the saga of me not being able to find an open bathroom.
Yeah.
This was before the panel, obviously. So basically, because I'm in a giant poofy ball gown, one of the reasons I chose it for this is the David Lawrence Convention Center has a lot of single-stall family restrooms just stationed around it, which is, when you're in that big of a ball gown, kind of what you need. Like, if I was wearing the costume I was today or the rest of the weekend, generally I could get away with just using handicap stalls and normal bathrooms. For that one, you just need a private restroom. There's not the way you can do it. Yep. And finding a private restroom that was open became like a 3-hour-long saga.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, you weren't able to locate one before the panel.
Yeah, which is fine. I didn't need to go that badly.
Yeah.
So I walked into the room. We did some banter with the crowd before the panel.
Yep.
Kind of keep people hyped, which I think worked pretty well.
Yeah.
And I don't, because I haven't talked about the panel submission process. I guess this is the time to do it. Basically, I do it through Eventi. Eventi has its own application system within it for its various events. So you do that. You fill stuff in generally. There was a typo on my panel description, which is probably my fault, not theirs. They just forgot a word or something. And then you see what got accepted. And as I think we were mentioning, not a lot got accepted to Tekko this year, as far as we know.
I'm not sure I would phrase it that way. They accepted a lot of stuff. Yeah. They just got a ridiculous amount of applications.
I think that's probably a fair way to put it. There were just... As we mentioned earlier, people in the Tekko Facebook group like to complain a lot, so there are people complaining about this generally.
Yeah. Yeah, there were a lot of complaints about, my panel got waitlisted. Why did my panel get waitlisted? And the honest answer is because you were one of, several hundred people who submitted a panel, and they've only got so many rooms and so much time.
And because they upped their panel reimbursement policy this year, for which 1 hour of panel program is an entirely comp badge, I imagine that also increased the amount of panel submissions they wound up getting.
Yeah, I suspect so. Yeah, which again, that's a good policy. Like, we like that as a policy. And I freely admit, next year, we will probably both submit at least one panel.
Yeah. Like, if they want me to do more academic stuff, I can. Because when you submit a panel, you can put what time slots you want. Because I know I'm going the entire weekend. I just put all the time slots, every single one of them.
Yep.
And generally, I do that because I assume, generally, if you put all the time slots, because other people don't put all the time slots, they put you in one of the off time slots, like Sunday morning or Thursday afternoon. They didn't do that. Nope. I have no idea why they did not do that.
Primo 5:30 on Saturday time slot.
Yeah, no one's done this for me before. What the heck?
Yeah. It did mean we were directly opposite, right by Husbando.
To the point where I could hear them cheering.
Yeah, because it was in the room next door.
Yeah, which we would have otherwise gone to. But yeah. I joked about you just entering and have somebody run over if your name got pulled.
Which would have been funny, but...
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt my panel.
Yeah.
And again, I submit these academic panels to cons. I will admit they're not always the most intellectually interesting thing for me to do, because it's not really a skill set where I feel challenged. Like, if I'm doing improv or comedy panels or doing stuff with you, I feel a bit more challenged because I haven't worked on that skill set as much. Philosophy, I've been trained in depth in for the last, basically my entire adult life.
Yeah.
It's what I do, it's what I breathe, I can do it in, seconds.
Yeah. no part of what you put together for this panel was difficult for you.
Yeah.
Little time consuming in terms of like making a PowerPoint and
Yeah, I
doing a
said
little
this
bit
during
of
the
research.
panel, but this was a Japanese 101 philosophy panel. Japanese philosophy is not my subject of expertise, and it's actually quite rare subject of expertise because Japan just isn't one of the heavy hitters on the philosophical scene in either ancient times or modern day. If you're looking at Eastern philosophy, you're going to be looking at India or China.
Yeah.
Japan's just not there. A lot of what they do is osmosis through China and India. So one interesting challenge for me in putting this together was trying to come up with some stuff that was like uniquely Japan as I was putting it together, and also trying to translate it for a Western audience. Because as I also mentioned in the panel, Eastern and Western philosophy are extraordinarily different and have a lot of hard times talking to each other. So I did my best.
Yeah. Sometimes in a literal sense, because again, in like philosophy uses a lot of very technical language, and anytime you have to translate extremely technical language, things get very, very complicated very, very quickly.
As evidenced by one of the facts that, or terms that people learned from this, was the term holographic, which does not mean anything close to what people think it means, but it probably is actually the best translation of that concept we have.
Yep.
So yeah, I didn't know how this was going to go. I never do. I always submit academic mails, being like, no one's going to want to learn about philosophy at a con.
You had pretty close to a full room.
Yep. There were people in the back who couldn't get seats, and then one group left, they like swooped in and stuff like that.
Yep.
I'm like, not everyone stayed the whole time, but about 90% of the room did, so.
Yep. Pretty decent chunk of it.
Yep. I did say we give out badge ribbons. I do intend to make the I Learned Something badge ribbons pretty soon, just to have them be more a little bit appropriate if I continue to do paneling at a con, which I honestly probably will. I do feel like with AI taking over the classroom so much and how disinterested students are, having these panels is kind of very good for me to remind me that people still like want to learn.
Yep.
And are interested in complex topics.
Yeah. I would absolutely say it's a good thing for you to do.
Also, people were taking notes.
Yeah, some people were taking notes. Like you mentioned that if people wanted the PowerPoint slides, they could email.
Yeah, I didn't think of this idea till I was in the room and just kind of said it offhandedly, thinking like maybe one person would want them.
We have a list of like 10 people who wanted the slides.
Yep.
In fact, what we'll probably do in the future is I'll just knock up a quick Excel spreadsheet, and if anybody wants the slides afterwards, I will just say, come up, type your name, type your email here, and we'll forward you a copy sometime in the next couple of days after the con. But yeah. So no, this panel went very, very well. I think people found it interesting. You had a lot of people come up to you afterwards to talk to you about it. Yeah, I also had people talking to me about it.
Yeah, Tekko does schedule half-hour gaps in between panels, which I actually do like, because I feel like that's enough time for people to get out of the room, people to get into the room, people sit down. It does mean you're getting a couple less panels per day, but I do understand why they do it. Yeah. In this case, we were legitimately running up to that 30-minute time slot because we were talking to people for 30 minutes straight.
Yeah, the next person kind of came up and I was like, okay, let me get everything out of your way. Sorry, sorry, we still have a bunch of people in your way.
Yep. And I also got to meet the friend I was talking to yesterday's wife, which was super nice.
Yep.
I don't think they were. Friend was there for the panel. Their wife was, I think, doing trinket trading or something like that. I think I'm not going to say either of their names on the podcast. But they seem very nice. I hope I can see them again.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was intense. It was fun. It's nice to engage with people intellectually, generally. And it's also nice to see, I realize that academia is not accessible to a lot of people for a variety of reasons, and being able to bring that to people who still want to be part of it but can't for whatever reason fully is a really big privilege that I have.
It is. I'm glad you were able to do this. It's one of those things. I would love you to do more of these kind of panels at cons. And if meanwhile, I will just do the stupidest thing I can think of. I still want to do a panel on Starfleet.
Well, one thing, and you can tell me maybe how well this works, is I did make the decision pretty quickly kind of writing it just because I didn't have time. I'm just like, I'm not going to water this down. I'm going to go over some pretty complicated concepts, and people probably aren't going to get all of it, but I think we'll at least get some of it, as opposed to doing a more kind of watered down basic level version of it. I'm like, I'm just going to have people, I'm going to pitch it at this high level, and people can just engage with it at the level they're comfortable with.
It seemed to work for the most part.
I don't think anyone got 100% what I was talking about, but I wouldn't expect them to. It would take years of training to be able to.
Yeah.
But if you introduce them to a high-level concept, if they can at least get 50% of what you're talking about, that engages their brain in a way that I think is in some ways more important than pitching an easier concept and having somebody just immediately completely understand it.
I think you're right. It gives people something that they can be like, okay, I kind of got part of this. Maybe I'll go look into it further. Yeah, I freely admit the spirit world thing is something that I think was definitely confusing some parts of the audience, but at the same time, it's kind of supposed to.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That was by far not the most confusing parts of the presentation.
Oh, no,
That was one of the easier parts.
I know. I love you.
I love you too. Like, the emotive naturalism stuff was the actual confusing part. Maybe 10% of the audience got that, but it's fine.
But again, hopefully people enjoyed it.
Yeah.
No, I think they found it interesting.
Yeah. And yeah, it's kind of fun to have an intellectual conversation where people asking you questions, and they're actually questions that you know the answers to.
Yep. As per usual, a couple of people tried to ask me philosophy questions afterwards. I'm like, nope. I'm not the smart one here. Talk to her.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I always do find it interesting when we do these panels together when you're mostly flipping slides and they're to do basic level questions that people ask you the philosophy questions.
Yeah, they don't realize I'm as dumb as I am.
You're not dumb, you're just not trained in philosophy.
Yeah. Well, I did have one person come up to enthusiastically talk to me about mathematics.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he picked set theory to talk about, and I'm like, oh god, set theory. I haven't thought about that in 10 years, and I prefer to keep not thinking about it. But I do have a friend that would adore them.
Yeah.
So,
We're not going to say anyone's names, but a lot of people ask me some very good questions. So if any of you do happen to be listening to this, I appreciated all of your questions after the panel. They were very good.
Yeah, this was fun. I think it went well.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So at that point, I believe we went on another scouting mission to find you a bathroom.
Yep. Well, we met up with Lynn, who I think was hanging out with us for a little bit.
Yep.
We were allowed to say their names because we have their permission.
Yep.
So Zay recommended a couple different panels, one of which was an anime game show panel.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I had you and Zem go to sit down in there while I went to try to find a bathroom and was unsuccessful.
Yep.
And then we were briefly in the anime game show panel, but I think we realized pretty quickly that
This was another panel that was basically descriptions of anime that are kind of vague and not necessarily accurate.
Yeah, which we had already seen a couple times, and I do think it's a bit more fun if you can get the inside jokes with the anime, which we just kind of couldn't.
We kind of couldn't. We just haven't seen enough anime.
Yeah. So Lynn's was super nice because we switched over to the. I want to find the exact title of this one.
It was the himbo panel, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
basically. I'm trying to find the exact title of it, basically.
Yeah.
But Zay went to go get a seat there while we went on an epic quest to find a bathroom.
Yeah, which we were successful at.
Yeah, eventually.
We did successfully quest our way to a bathroom.
Yep.
But,
So, yeah. Sorry. You want to describe the panel while I find the name?
Sure.
As we may have mentioned before, Aventi sucks.
Aventi is terrible. We know why they use it. It is the most cost-efficient option for them, but it's not good. But yeah, so this particular panel was... We assumed it was going to be a fairly light, goofy, stupid panel about rating, beefcake himbo characters and how hot they were. This actually wasn't that. This was a little bit more here's a history of the himbo archetype in anime, and then here's some examples, which is fun.
Yeah, it was educated and informed, and I like that. They classified it as edutainment. I think that's a fair description of it.
Mm-hmm. I would say so as well.
We're searching the term himbo also doesn't let me find it. I'm just going to call it the himbo panel. I apologize to the person who was running it.
Yeah. It was something about beef.
Yep.
Try searching for beef.
You had himbo in the title. Fine, I'll put beef in the title. Yeah, it was also an education. They had a brief education of grade A beef.
Thank you.
A highly debated discussion of muscular hunks.
Yep. Yeah, so again, this was fun. Not strictly speaking what I think we expected when we walked in.
I expected it for people to be naming their favorite himbos and stuff like that, and discussion of himbo archetypes and a bit rowdier.
Yep.
I do think it got some overflow because Linz was saying that the monster effing panel was full, so which I believe.
Yeah, that's a popular topic.
Yep.
Michael's eyebrows.
Oh, also, we forgot to mention we had the same AV guys we had at AmproCon.
We did. Thank you, AV team.
Thank you, AV team. That guy remembered us too.
He did. Well, again, he only saw us like
2 weeks
2
ago.
weeks ago. 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But again, once again, great job. Like, I like that guy. He's good at what he does.
Too. And we got applause for them again. So.
Yep. Again, always applaud your AV team.
Yep.
They work very hard. So yeah. No, this panel was good. It just wasn't necessarily what we were expecting when we walked in. At that point, I believe the next thing was the
Scuffed Jeopardy.
Yeah.
Linz had other stuff to do, so we say goodbye to them. But again, I want to thank them again for saving our seats. That was a huge help.
There was. So we stayed specifically for Scuffed Jeopardy because you commented that you'd seen it at several of the cons we go to.
Yeah, but it was always colossal, but it's generally at like midnight because it is a plus 18 panel that's kind of rowdy.
Yeah. So we figured, okay, it's at, what was it, 8:30?
Yeah.
It's at 8:30, we can stay for it, and then we are going to go home.
Yes.
Because again, 2-hour drive home. Each direction, every day. We
chose this.
We've spent 16 hours in the car in the last 4 days.
That just makes it more painful. Yeah, Scuff Jeopardy, I'm trying to see if they have a gaming group. It is a gaming group in a thing. I just don't know if they actually have their names listed. They do not. But yeah. Right, panelist group. Yeah. But this group had great energy.
They did.
Like, if you're going to do non-safe for work joke Jeopardy, this
was a good version of it.
It was a good version, and it had an MC and team that could carry it very well.
They did. They did also have a mysterious beep.
Yep.
For whatever reason, the audio stuff just kept beeping at us.
Yep. For whatever reason, every time the computer was plugged in, it would just beep, and I think everyone could not be bothered to go get the AV people who were outside to stop the beeping.
Yeah, when the AV team heard about it, they came in and fixed it in less than 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like, probably should have thought of that earlier.
I think everyone did. Everyone's just like, nah, let's not bother anyone. We'll just deal with it.
Yeah. So again, this was very dumb and very fun and very stupid. My only comment is that because they were using Google Slides, I think, for their Jeopardy board, the things we'd already answered didn't go away.
Yep.
At some point, you really need to just make sure everybody knows about that one website you use.
Yeah, well, it does require internet connection, so I don't know if that's necessarily always the best thing. There's also other ways you can go about it. So, but I'll know the con also does offer internet, I think, to panelists.
They do.
So yeah. Maybe think about that in the future, but I do get wanting to have a backup in case stuff goes wrong. But yeah, these were actual anime questions that you could answer, but also you got points for joke answers a lot of the time, and the audience could also answer when people didn't know.
Yeah, and a lot of them were stupid.
Yeah. I also was whispering answers to you a lot of the times that were even worse. So, so one of them was guess the sound that's this anime, and one of the sounds was "You've got mail." The answer was just AOL because they also had joke answers on the board. I said for the anime of just my transgender experience.
Yeah. So yeah, again, this was very, very stupid and very, very fun.
Yeah.
It's another one of those panels that I would describe as dumb in all the best ways.
Yep.
There was at least a couple of jokes from both the audience and the panelists and the people, quote unquote, playing the Jeopardy game that just slightly murderized the host, which is great. I love it when that happens. I love it when a con comes together.
Yeah. Yeah, the host was great. They had great stage presence. They did a good job managing the room, getting stuff from different people. The people we're sitting next to a couple kids who I think were barely 18. They were definitely over 18. But they said it was their first con.
Yep.
And we're like, oh, sweet summer children, who are technically adults, but still summer children.
Yeah.
And we were ID checked for this one, I do want to emphasize.
Yes, yeah, we were all ID checked at the door for this one. So yeah, again, very dumb, very stupid, but a lot of fun. I would absolutely do this panel again. I don't know if it's worth staying till 2 a.m. for, but that was going to be based on the con decision.
I like this group of panelists. I would definitely do another panel with them generally. My one criticism is, again, figure out a way to get the Jeopardy board to like delete the questions once you're asking them generally. But this was exactly what it should be. This is what I want joke Jeopardy that still is kind of sort of real to be.
Yeah.
And I did appreciate that they had prizes, and the prizes were incredibly stupid.
Yeah.
There's a 3D printed Pokeball.
Yep. There was a packet of tissues.
Yep. And there was some third prize that was somehow in between those two things in terms of like
goodness.
Yeah, I think it was like a sticker or something.
Yeah, I genuinely don't remember what the third one was, but again, like it was fun. It was dumb. It was. I feel bad that I've called this panel dumb as many times as I have.
It's dumb in a smart way.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to tip for prizes, hentai stickers never disappoint.
This is true. So yeah.
They do surprise though.
They do frequently surprise.
This was worth staying for. I'm glad we stayed for it.
Yeah. At which point we got in the car and we went home.
Yep.
Which meant we got to bed at like midnight.
Yep.
Yay.
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 We're not so full sleep.
Yep.
We're probably in a different city in 3 days.
Yep. And I still haven't found the pots and pans, so I don't know what I'm eating for dinner tonight.
Maybe you'll eat your own hand.
No, I need this in game. But yeah, so
okay, we've got
we've got time. So Sunday.
Yep.
We got up this morning. We got up about half an hour later.
Yep.
Well, you got to get up half an hour later. I got woken up at 3:30 in the morning by a pretty bad leg cramp. That wasn't fun.
Yeah, your body tends to like to do that when it's already tired.
Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, it's always the same goddamn leg. It's really bizarre. But yeah, so not a fun way to wake up. I did manage to get back to sleep, but it did mean I was hobbling a little bit this morning. Not bad. Like once I got enough water down me to kind of like ease it out, I was okay. And I noticed it once or twice kind of going up and down the stairs today. It just got a little twingy, but for the most part, it's been fine. Like it just kind of woke me up in a really unpleasant way. So we got here this morning at what, 10ish? A little before 10?
10ish.
There was still parking available today. So we parked up and then, toddled over, and we decided to go to the flea market.
It was mostly because there was nothing else on, and also Bridget and James were going to be there, and we figured we could at least say hi to them because we hadn't really had a chance to yet, and I wanted to congratulate Bridget on her win. So we did that. We were dressed as Prince Eric and Ariel, so that's just always a hit costume, and there's a lot of kids at this con, so it tends to go over well. I was getting pointed at a lot today. It was very cute.
Yeah.
So we got in. The flea market, generally, they do tend to try to create lines, but it's hard to do because it's in this big room at the effectively basement or lowest level of the convention center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the space right behind registration.
Yep.
And like, what I will say is that once you asked the question about ADA, they were very helpful, but once again, signage would have been useful.
Well, like when we got there, they were directing people into like VIP and regular lines, and then somebody who was not us went and asked a question about ADA, and then they created an ADA line because I don't think the person knew that they were supposed to do that.
Yes. So again, like I definitely think the main problem I think your ADA policies have had this year has been communication. So like we got into the ADA, or I asked about the ADA line, and they were like, "Okay, yep, you should be there, kind of behind these other people." And I was like, "Okay, cool." I gesticulated you over. They did actually, one thing that they did do, they let the ADA line into the flea market about 10 minutes before official start time. Then they let in the VIPs, and then at official start time they let in the general line, which meant we did get a bit of lead on it, which was useful.
Particularly for the disabilities I have as a godsend, like I would be more likely to attend this event if I knew that was a thing that was an option for people who have ADA. And I think for other people too, it's also easier because again, if you're in a wheelchair, have troubles with mobilities, because of how popular flea market / swap meet type things are at cons, it's kind of a godsend to have that.
Just have a bit of extra bonus time. So we went in. The one thing I will say is, I know that they sold out all the tables. Several of the tables were empty at this point, and I'm wondering.
More were still setting up while we were in.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there was some point of confusion over when they were meant to get there and when they were meant to get set up. Because Bridget and James, I believe, told us that your like setup time was 10 to 10:30 or something like that, or it might even be, I think it might have been slightly earlier than that. Whereas there were some people who like came in after 10:30 and didn't start getting set up until then.
The event does go for a pretty long time on Sunday.
Mhm.
Like it goes, I think, until 2:30, so it's 4 hours. So it's not like if you came in later, I still think you could sell stuff probably.
Yeah.
So. And tables aren't expensive. I saw from the spreadsheets, it's
$20.
$20, and then 30 if you want to do both Thursday and Sunday.
Yeah. So if you've just got a bunch of random stuff you want to sell, it's actually a pretty good way to do it. There's a very good chance you will, at the very least, make your table costs back. Yeah. Depending on what you're selling and like how dear you're being and all of that kind of stuff. Like, once again, we did see like some plush going for like $40, and I'm like, that's overly priced for used plush.
People are allowed to price stuff for what they want. Just keep in mind, people might not buy it.
Yep.
And some vendors are more open to, because it is like a flea market. Some vendors, I assume, but maybe not all, are. Some people just straight told just like offer what you want and will probably accept it.
Yep.
So, because a lot of people do just want to kind of get rid of stuff. So.
Yeah.
And I've thought about doing it just because we do have a lot of stuff, I think, now, particularly with moving, that we want to get rid of, and it seems like a good way to do that and make sure it goes to like a home that'll appreciate it. So.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe we'll apply for a table next year. Who knows?
We'll see.
We'll see.
And we didn't buy anything. A lot of new house stuff. Nothing really caught my eye, so we pivoted from that. What do we do next?
When was the Neopets meetup?
Oh yeah, we went to the vendors hall next. Actually,
Yeah,
we hadn't done that yet.
Yeah, because we got in kind of as it opened. Namely, like we just kind of joined the back of the line as it was heading in.
Yeah.
Again, pretty straightforward. So this was our first time in the weekend, actually, just kind of wandering around the vendors hall and looking at stuff. Again, decent vendors hall. Like, hey, rain. So looked around that, kind of wandered up and down everything. Like what I would consider the usual selection of stuff, but most of it looked like. I suspect the vendors made their money back this weekend. You okay?
Yeah, a little sleepy. That's all.
That's fair.
Yeah, I do want to shout out a couple of booths just because there's been I think a few complaints with vendors hall basically having a lot of the same stuff over and over again. We make that complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see any AI stuff. I'm 100% certain Tekko has a rule against that, but I know sometimes stuff can sweep by because you can't really expect somebody to like survey absolutely everything anyone has. And they had a couple really unique stuff. There was a polymer clay artist. I've been really interested in people who work with polymers because I've kind of wanted to be trying it as a hobby, not to sell stuff. So I was interested to like look at some of their techniques. And there was somebody who was making like stuff out of carpets.
Mm-hmm.
That was very cool. And like it's interesting to see techniques that's not normally used a lot of the time, generally. So it was very cool, generally. And they had a pretty wide variety of stuff. Like I was pretty happy with their selection.
Yeah.
And we didn't buy anything because new house, but
yeah,
it was fun to look around.
Yeah, we've already spent a fair amount of money this month.
Don't talk to me about that.
Yeah.
So then we went upstairs to the Neopets meetup.
Yes. Because you're a Neopets fan.
Yeah.
I am not.
And I will say meetups in particular are things we don't tend to do as much as cons, in part because it's hard to know, like, meetups I think vary a lot in terms of like how organized versus how free form they are, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, sometimes it's literally just, here is a room with some people who are into similar stuff to you. Talk. And sometimes it's like, hey, we have all these like a dozen activities themed around this particular thing. Let's all have fun together. And you never quite know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And sometimes they're organized by like one person who's in there keeping track, and sometimes they're not. This one tended to be more to the structure sides. It did say it was going to have virtual codes. Neopets is a virtual pet website that I and pretty much only exclusively adults now still play. The room was all adults. We were making jokes about that.
Again, it's
not plus 18, but it's de facto plus 18.
Yeah, it's mostly just a case of the people who are playing Neopets now largely started playing it when they were kids.
Yep. There's a few people who I know joined in college, but because I still play it occasionally. Been taking a bit of a break this summer, but I'll probably get back to it. They had virtual item codes, so I was mostly in it for that. Sometimes they also give other stuff. We got some ribbons and things like that, and it's kind of fun to be nostalgic with groups of people, similar to how you are with Dragon Age.
Yep.
So they had a quote-unquote coloring contest.
They had a spinny wheel.
Yeah, and they had a little spinny wheel where you could get prizes. There was, I think, one like actual prize, which was TCD cards, and a bunch of other like silly little prizes that people seemed legitimately as excited to get.
Yep.
I got a fan and a lollipop. So.
Yep. You got a fan, I got a ring pop.
Yeah.
Well, actually, technically, I won the fan and you won the ring pop, but we switched.
We traded. Yep. I'm not into coloring as a contest, but it was cute that they have that. And I saw that the person next to us, because there's a person who sat at our table, took my idea of drawing a story Aisha, so. Which was cute.
Yeah, I don't know if they heard you and thought, oh, that sounds really cool, I should do that, or if they just kind of like decided to do it on their own. But again, it was a lot of fun.
It was cute. And I will admit, I haven't. Coloring is not something like all of the good like actual coloring tools were gone by the time we got there, because I think they didn't expect this many people to join, so we just had kind of the Crayola markers, which aren't terribly good for coloring. You really want like colored pencils or crayons.
Yeah.
But I was, as somebody who has a disability that also affects like their like hand-eye coordination type stuff, I was pleasantly surprised with my ability to be able to color inside the lines as an adult, because I've never really tried before, so I was happy with that.
Good.
And we both colored the same thing, and I got to talk to you about Neopets, and it was very cute.
Yep.
They also had egg dyeing there to like be like neg dyeing. Negs or eggs, but not in Neopets. I don't need to explain this lore. I don't think anyone actually did that, just because it was kind of messy. But they also said you could take the die kits with you and make your own neg at home, which is super sweet. And the person running this was just adorable.
Yeah.
And they were cosplaying as the shop wizard. If you know, you know. It was very cute. There were several different fairies, and like again, it was cute and nostalgic.
Yeah. Yeah, like you might like. I think if if the house wasn't still in boxes, you would have brought your Neopets today.
Yeah.
Which would have been a big hit here.
Yeah.
And maybe done your Air Fairy costume, but we wanted something easier today.
Yeah.
And the Air Fairy costume has a giant ass train.
It's not that big a train.
It's pretty big.
Anyway. We also dipped out briefly to check out the Rate Your Pets panel, which was cute. My main gripe with this is actually a similar gripe to the problem with the karaoke contest, because we went to this panel last year, and like I do like the host energy. It's just because you have to fill out a form in advance. Typically, the pets that they're rating, which are con-goers' pets, aren't in the room.
Yep.
And I think we kind of just dipped out of it because it's more fun for me if like the person is in the room defending their pet or whatever that they're roasting.
I would agree with you. Like I think some of them started to be present, but it's one of those things that I don't know if there's a better way to do this panel.
Yeah, I do get it, because you have to put pictures of the pets into a PowerPoint and the descriptors into a PowerPoint, so it makes a certain amount of sense.
Yeah.
And in part, I also meant to put Sean and Toby in, because we put Emma in last year, but I forgot to, so.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit more interesting if you know your pet's going to be rated and roasted, so.
Yeah. Sean and Toby are good boys.
They are.
But yeah. So again, we ended up pivoting back to the Neopets panel, or to the Neopets meetup, and then was it then that we tried the Fusion Games Bingo?
Yes.
Yes. So we went to the Fusion Games anime bingo panel, and very quickly realized we were not going to stay in this one. The reason being that the way that they did this panel did not work for us. Specifically, they had a they had a QR code you scanned. You did that. It generated you a bingo card. Great. This is a good thing. The bingo card was basically a bunch of pictures of different anime characters. They then gave slightly funny, slightly vague descriptions of anime characters, and you had to tick them off in order to get bingo. We got about 4 or 5 in, and we're like, this is going to be a problem, because we didn't know it anyway. Like, of the board of standard bingo board of 25 spaces, with a free space in the middle, so 24 pictures of different anime protagonists. I think I knew 4 of them.
Yeah. And even with that, it's like some of the descriptions are things that you would only know if you've seen the entire series. And it's just like, I can't play this. I think it would have worked if they then showed who the character, or sometimes they said it could apply to multiple characters, who they were, and with their pictures, so people could be like, oh. But they didn't do that. So the game, I don't think, was actually playable by most of the room, if I'm being honest. Because I looked around as we were leaving.
yeah, a decent chunk of the people in the room basically could not play because they hadn't seen enough anime to have seen all the characters.
Yeah. Like, anime is a pulp genre. The odds that you've actually even seen 25 different anime enough to be able to play this game aren't that high.
Yeah.
Particularly since we didn't even have the same cards, so I think there are probably like 50-ish total characters, probably.
Yeah.
No one has seen all 50 of those anime.
Yeah. So giving a joke description of Sherlock Holmes Jr. doesn't help.
Yeah. Well, I do think that character was actually named Sherlock, so you would only have to know a little bit, but it's still not good.
Like outside of the classic gag of this character beats up animals, captures them, and then forces them to fight for their own sick entertainment. Like, yes, obviously that's Ash Ketchum from Pokemon, hardy har.
But also that joke's been done 20 times.
Yeah, I am a little sick of that particular joke.
We bailed pretty early because we realized this wasn't going to work for us.
Yeah.
And we handed the XP we got this weekend from our other fusion game, Pokemon weird trivia taboo thing we played, because the random teenagers we met at the Scuffed Jeopardy panel.
Yep. We're also in this panel.
Yeah, so we just handed them our points, and we're just like, here, have fun.
Yeah, we were just like, hey, we've got a bunch of these we're not going to spend. Here you go.
Yep.
It felt like, I'm glad we did that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm hoping...
I feel like they'll be able to get something cool, and like, if it's their first con, I want them to have souvenirs. So.
Yeah. Something stupid from the prize table.
So yeah, after a series of kind of low-key panels, I felt like we needed a win, and we randomly found kind of a very weird one.
Yeah. So this one was out in one of the hallways.
Yeah, they do have hallway stages at this convention for various things. I tend to steer away from them just because I do tend to prefer stuff that's in confined rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And I also steered away from this panel just because it wouldn't be something I would want to participate in, and I wouldn't think would be that fun to watch. Yep. This was surprisingly fun to watch.
Yeah, this was the Iron Cosplay Challenge, which is basically they had 4 teams, each of which were given an hour and a box of random garbage, and they had to make a costume.
Yep.
In an hour. And the end results were actually really goddamn good.
Yep.
Like, would they win an actual craftsmanship competition? Hell no. But they were still really good.
Yep. So while they were doing this, we didn't see the beginning of it. We kind of walked in during the middle of it because they only had about an hour, and I think we walked in around the 30-minute mark. They had various challenges that the teams had to complete, various wheels to spin. They would ask the audience questions. They would have mini games for the audience to play. Like, this host was working so hard to make this event a spectator sport, and they succeeded.
They did. Yeah. Because again, like, it is very difficult to. Because again, people working on a costume for an hour, you can't just watch that as an audience member. It gets very boring very fast. Mm-hmm. So they needed a bunch of other stuff to be going on to keep the audience entertained, and I think they did a really great job.
Yeah. I really hope that person charged their laptop, though, because they were projecting a laptop screen that had no battery by the time we got there.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had like a wheel you could spin where teams could harm other teams with like penalties. Like, one team got their scissors taken away. One had to costume with their hands tied behind their back. One got helped by Gritty, which was the anti-version of help.
So yeah, this was surprisingly fun. I'm glad we watched this.
I would go to this again. It's very silly. I probably wouldn't participate because I'm in a massive ball gun and I would effectively be Gritty. I would volunteer to be Gritty. If you want just a princess girl to be Gritty next year, I would do that.
Just be a pain in everybody's ass.
Yeah, just knock stuff over with my massive ball gun on stage. Yeah, they had great help with this. We also ran up randomly. A couple people at this con have remembered us from last year, mostly from our murder cult PowerPoint thing that we did. We wound up meeting one of those people from last year and talking to them for quite a bit, and they seem like a really cool dude. Yeah,
they were giving us some advice on new home ownership.
I apologize if we're kind of lightly rounding these last few events.
We're 9 minutes from home.
Yeah, well.
And then it was the panel we've been looking forward to all day.
All day.
All con, really.
I told you that it's worth buying tickets to this con just for this panel. Like, I don't actually mean that like I do with the Tank and Rompa panel for CausyCon, but it's close.
Yeah. This is the spreadsheet panel.
Cheats.
This is the panel where they actually tell you all of the behind-the-scenes nonsense about the budget.
Yep, like, you get to know all of their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Including how much they pay their one employee, who they don't name, understandably, but you do know that.
Yeah. Like, this panel tells you so many interesting things that most cons keep, incredibly secret.
Yeah. like how much they get from attendance revenue, how much they charge for various booze, how much they bring in for different things, how much the venue is charging them to rent it, all the other miscellaneous expenses, and it's fascinating.
It really is.
And you learn so much of what goes on behind the scenes of the con, why they made the decisions they did, how they're doing financially, what decisions they're going to make in the future, and why. Like, for this con, they announced that likely, and I think this is true, badge ticket sales won't be going up in price for next year.
Yep.
And that makes sense because we found out they have a $200,000 budget surplus,
yep.
which is very good because I know that they were facing budget austerity measures the last few years, so they've made money.
They've made money.
I also love how the host of this panel was like, I know that $200,000 doesn't seem like a lot given what we're bringing. I'm like, no, that seems like a lot given how much cons cost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, again, their revenue has reached the point where it was above $1 million.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good job, Tekko.
Yeah. Like, yeah. I'm very happy with this.
Yes.
And we can take a rough guess. Their attendance numbers are around 12,000-ish now.
12,000-ish.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, they're still not bumping up into Anthrocon's numbers, but they are doing very comfortably for themselves. You know, and they freely admitted that the goal is probably, like, having an extra $200,000 that they made this year relative to how much the event cost to put on does not mean they're going to spend all that next year.
Yeah, keep in mind, Tekko is a non-profit, so that money doesn't really go to anyone. They do have one employee. Lots of non-profits have employees. I'm sure that person does a lot and works on the con throughout the year.
Yes. But because they freely admitted what they want to do is build up a little nest egg and in case of emergency, fund. Because most non-profits, it's recommended to have 1 full year worth of operating expenses saved up. That's a recommended thing that you generally are aiming to have as a non-profit. So that's where a decent chunk of that money will go, is just into a bank account so they've got it in case of emergencies, which I think is a good call. Like, I don't have a problem with them doing that.
Yeah. But I think if they continue to grow at this rate, this is like, given what's happening to a lot of like anime cons that are nonprofits, generally having one that's doing financially well and is like, I think, because we've been going to it for a few years and have watched these spreadsheet things happen, basically, of like seeing them move past the quote unquote austerity measures that they're having generally and making really smart moves with their budget. This is the first year that they're debt free, I think, since 2020 happened. Is very smart.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very thrilled to see this, and I'm happy that they seem to be in good hands.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I also just love this panel. I'm such a spread. Like, I'm a con geek. This is what I love. I love learning about cons. Like, I'm not passionate for the fandoms. I'm passionate for the cons themselves. So this is just like, I love this so much. And we're surrounded with a bunch of massive nerds who also adore it so much.
Yep. Like, again, the spreadsheet panel doesn't have the biggest crowd, but it does have an extremely enthusiastic crowd.
Yep. And it also, I found that it was interesting, there's a decent amount of overlap between that, and we got to the panel a little bit early, so they were finishing up the accessibility panel that they had, and they actually had con staff there that were talking to people who were disabled about their disabilities and how to be better in the future.
Yeah.
I would have mentioned some of the stuff we mentioned on the podcast, but we got there late, and I assume the more obvious stuff, like have signage, was probably already mentioned by that point.
Yeah, we didn't realize this panel was going on because, again, Eventony sucks. So it got kind of lost in the shuffle, and we didn't realize it was a thing until we got to the tail end of it. So.
Yeah, it was cool that they had that too. So.
Yeah. Like, again, I genuinely do think Tekko cares.
Yeah.
It's just, that's okay. Like, again, they are working on stuff, they are getting better, and I appreciate that. So, yeah.
Like, a lot of them are commenting about how they do have a lot of communication problems still, and I think that is something that they're working to improve generally. I do think they are struggling a little bit with communication on a lot of fronts, and as a con that's growing, they need to get better about that generally.
Which is, again, they have an area to improve in, and
they do, but they also know it, and they're trying.
Yeah.
And I do think the fact that they're getting their numbers back, because I do think their primary goal in the past, 5-ish years, was to basically be out of debt and get their numbers back. And I think now that they've gotten to a level where they're stable, knock on wood again,
5 minutes,
they can get those numbers back, and they can start focusing on other more communicative issues a little bit more.
Yeah. Okay, we are very, very nearly home.
Yep.
We actually need to stop off on the edge of town because we need to get a couple of things at the store. So we need to kind of get on with this.
I said that, yes. I was trying to give it like a fine point on it. Anyway.
Yep. Anyway.
Okay, stuff we didn't do. There's a lot.
There's a lot. Like, there are 9 panel rooms going basically constantly throughout the weekend. Jesus, there were a lot of panels.
Yeah.
We've said that a bunch of times.
Like this one. Your new best friend is Malroth. I have no idea what that's about. It looks cool. I'm not going to name very many of these. It's apparently about Dragon Quest.
Cool.
Monsters vs. Diplomacy. They had an entire chibi room that was just for kids.
Yep. They had 2 chibi rooms that were just for kids.
Yep. The Pokemon Train stuff, which I actually do want to shout out because it does gangbusters and is a very unique event where you can like battle different gyms and they have different ability levels of this. So anyone who's from 5 to 75 can play this.
Yep.
We don't do it, but it's very popular for people who do. It is definitely looked up. They had a Métis that didn't go well because it wasn't very well advertised. We know that from the spreadsheet panel.
Yep.
Fleet up markets, mini photo meetups, stuff like that. AMV rooms going pretty much constantly, and they do keep those running.
Yep.
Okay. I'm not going to name anything else because we've got to wrap this.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Top 3 calm moments.
Spreadsheet panel. Let's just get that out of the way now.
Yeah, damn it. I was going to steal that one off you. Okay. Braining. I'm actually going to go with the Cosplay Masquerade. I think they did a really good job of it this year.
Honestly, all the people who remembered us from last year. Very sweet.
That is very fair. Let's go with Rate My Waifu.
Yep.
I adore this panel so much. Too. It's great fun. Like, I really like the people who run it.
You see, this kind of had so many moments from just like, this is going to be my top favorite con moment that was just like really specific interactions with people, and I can't remember any of them. So I'm going to be lame and pick my panel because I really had a fun time with it.
That's fair. And then for my last one, I'm honestly going to go with one of the things we did today, which was just I was not expecting anything at all out of the Iron cosplay contest, because at least we didn't plan to go to it, but it ended up being an absolute blast.
It was.
Sit in the audience of it, just like a Charizard costume that they made in an hour was stunningly good.
Yeah.
You know,
I would say, I mean, that's probably the hardest of the ones they had up there, and it still snapped it out of the park.
Yeah. So yeah, like this, it was a very fun event. I'm glad we kind of accidentally bumped into it and just sat down and had fun with it. Okay. Obvious question, would we go back?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, we would.
I'm just answering for you.
Yeah. We like Tekko.
We do. I feel a little bit bad that I couldn't enjoy it quite as much this year as I think I did last year, just because of how stressed we've been and because it's in between multiple big trip cons.
And because we've just been tired and all of the stuff going on in our lives at the moment.
Yeah. Like, I do think next year I really want to give this con a little bit more time to shine, like, generally, because it is great. It continues to be great. It's what I want an anime con to be.
Yeah.
Like, if I was going to recommend an anime con, Tekko is honestly wholeheartedly the one I would recommend.
Yeah. What I will say is, in all honesty, if next year Gen Con and Tekko are back to back, I say we prioritize Tekko.
I agree.
Yeah. Which, again, that's a planning for next year problem.
I think probably both Tekko and Gen Con have already announced dates for 2027, so we'll look it up.
We'll look it up. But yeah, we'll figure it out. So yeah, like, sorry if we're kind of rushing the end of this episode, but among other things, we need to get petrol.
Yeah. But shout out to the Tekko staff. I do hope they're one of the ones that are kind of on my list as a hope to kind of interview someday, because they do also know us, and I know some of them do listen to this. So.
Yeah, I would absolutely love to talk to some of the Tekko staff on the podcast about the process of putting on Tekko and Sangawa for that matter. You know, just because they're kind of cool and awesome people. I would love to talk to them. So. But yeah, so if you're interested in that, drop us an email. It's concouplepodcast@gmail.com.
It's also on our show stuff.
It's also in the show notes. So thank you very, very much for listening. I need to now go put more petrol in the car. So thank you very much for listening. Next week, Gen Con.
We really don't want to go.
We actually don't, but at this point we've put too much money into it.
Yep.
So that's going to be an episode. But hey, maybe we'll have a fantastic time. Who knows? So yeah,
maybe we'll get our Airbnb will get canceled again while we're there.
Don't joke about that. That might happen.
I know.
Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.